Welcome to the next episode of the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me today is my co-host, Scott Minnick. Scott.
What's up?
Now, today's show is very important, and we're going to get down to some very important cultural issues. Now, I know the biggest thing in the news right now, Scott, is the new Disney Ariel is black. And I just want to know about your thoughts on the cultural appropriation of changing the skin color of certain characters in certain movies and how it affects. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about anything like that.
I looked at him and he was like,
That is the biggest waste of time I've ever heard. People literally taking time out of their day to argue and comment over a movie about a fictional character. It's basically a bunch of Facebook bots and Disney marketing drumming up all kinds of interest on it, and people are taking the bait. I think it's hilarious. Either way, no, today we've got an awesome show. It's going to have nothing to do with that. It's going to be a cool show. We're going to be talking about ghosts and probably some racing and God knows what else, because we've been sitting here for the longest time hanging out with these two instead of actually starting the show because we just can't stop talking. We found out that we have a lot in common. I mean, we're basically related. We just never met each other. We know everybody, the same people, all this kind of stuff. So today's show, we're going to be sitting down, or we are sitting down, with the people behind the Beyond the Dark Paranormal. So Kelly and Don Johnson, and for you Miami Vice fans out there, not that Don Johnson. So, but even an even better one. So y'all, thank y'all so much for joining us here tonight, and appreciate y'all's time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It's been cool just sitting here, just rapping back and forth about different things. So, just kind of breaking the ice, breaking some tabs. So, yeah.
And yeah, we found out we know a lot of the same people, of course, are racing. And Don, he is, he's, followed the podcast page for quite some time now. They're always commenting and supporting us and stuff like that. And I appreciate the people who appreciate us, and it makes it even better when they got some cool stuff to talk about. And, so we're sitting up here to my left, of course, anybody listening, you can't see this, but I've got my computer going and we're watching the Wheeling Modifieds going on at Riverhead Speedway. And then to my right, up here on the TV on the wall, we've got what's going on at Dominion. And of course, Smart Mods hadn't started yet, but it's cool. It's cool to be able to sit in here and tell these stories.
just hang out.
Just hang out and watch these races. So,
two big smart fans, in the room, 3 big smart fans in the room. So,
and me.
And two. Yeah. I'm getting her back around to it. I'm getting her back to the grassroots side.
Well, she should. The grassroots is where it's all at. And the ground pounders, man, they're so much fun. And, of course, we've got such a good relationship with Chris Williams and JB Cole and all them boys down there, and Bill Stanley and Hermie, all them that are part of the Smart Mod Tour and what really help the wheels move. So I like to sit here every single Saturday, and as me and Scott do, if the Smart Mods are on TV, we're going to sit there and watch it if we can't make it. And I suggest everybody do the same. Flow Racing, former guest Matthew Dillner, big part of that. So we're all supporting the people that support us. So go in there and check it out. You got all kinds of racing. This is just one of the many races that are on tonight. This just happens to be where our heart is. And, like I said, me and Scoot, how many weekends in a row we've been done this now?
We was here for, it's probably been about 2 months.
I'll go further back in that because we watched every single SRX race. And I think we skipped my birthday a couple weeks ago though. We did that on Saturday night. Yeah. But so
as a matter of fact, if I was sitting at home right now, I would have Bristol on TV and I would have the computer in my lap watching the smart race. I've still got my flow.
Is the Cup Boys are racing tonight, right?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Oh man. So should we put the Bristol race on one of these two, or are we good with the modifieds for right now? Well, how about we change the big TV to the until the mods come on? We'll go ahead and we'll watch the NASCAR guys. But so y'all two, for the main reason we're here tonight, because I know we're going to go off track and talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, but you all are, would ghost hunters be the proper term, or
paranormal investigators?
Paranormal. So What is it that you all investigate? Walk us through. Somebody calls you up and just give us an example of what they say to you and how you approach it and how all that kind of stuff works.
Somebody calls us up, and usually the first words out of their mouth is,
You're going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah, you're going to think I'm crazy, but no, we wouldn't. But yeah, they'll tell us, kind of what they've got going on, a little bit about whatever history they might know. We'll take their name, their address. We'll go ahead and do some research of our own. We'll go track records back on the land, on the house, on anything that we can possibly get, find out who all has lived there, all the past owners. Where are the past owners? Have they passed away? Has anybody passed away in the house? There's a lot of research that goes into it before we ever get to the place to do an actual investigation.
Yes, you're getting to the deeds, and you start getting into the people who lived there, and you get into the death records, and it's more intriguing just to get into the back side of it, start learning so far the history of the land and how, who all was there. So,
but I'm going to tell you, a lot of what we do, though, is going in to disprove that there's even a haunting.
Exactly.
There's so many people that think what they have going on is truly a haunting, and we've been able to disprove that several times.
So, wait a minute. Y'all use a scientific method, essentially. You go in to try and that's what science is supposed to be, is to go in and find ways to disprove it.
Exactly.
Y'all should be working for Pfizer, right? But then you wouldn't be making them those billions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is to disprove it. And, you get all... We have gotten our share of people to call us up, and we've actually disproved a lot of stuff. And it's either been environmental, rodents making noise in their attic. It could be, high EMF inside the house. A lot of these older houses have different wires, and they put off a different level of EMF. So, you got people that say, well, I feel like somebody's watching me. Well, there's such a thing called as EMF saturation.
So what is EMF for anybody that doesn't know, like me? Electromagnetic fields. Okay, frequency. Okay, yeah.
Fields, yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah, okay, never
Basically
mind.
static electricity. So, and that's what all this equipment runs off of. That's what it picks up. So, and you can get that EMF saturation, and that can set off a little bit of like a delirium, paranoia, anxiety type stuff. So, that's if learning the history is one thing, putting somebody's peace of mind at rest is another thing.
Are they relieved after you tell them that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of cases. They a couple nights later, we've gotten phone calls or we've gotten messages. Hey, I've slept the best I've slept in the last 6 months. Thank y'all. It's funny. We've talked about this before. You got two types of people: people that watch a lot of the shows and either have something going on or they just want a paranormal investigator at their house to brag about it. We've had that happen. And it's kind of, we laugh about it. I'm like, you get this person like, normally my toast pops up at the toaster after 10 seconds, not 12. You got to fault the toaster.
Really?
It's nothing like it's happened, but it's kind of that principle. You have something faulty. But it takes a lot of research right off the get-go, and then once you get to the house and do the location, doing your EMF sweeps, you're getting readings before you even start doing an investigation. So you kind of got a baseline of where the house sits at that moment. And
well, and two, I think the research part of it doesn't even just lie with the property and the home or anything like that. It also has a lot to do with people. We do a lot of background on those folks and try to see if we can get to know them through other means than just talking with them, to see what are some of the things, how does their mind work? Like,
Right.
What are the things that's going on? Are they posting things, on their social media that's most normal people would post, or are they posting stuff on there all the time that's like, oh, there's a ghost here, or there's this, or there's that. And then there comes the hard questions that you have to ask the people. I'm sorry to ask you this, but is the wiring good in your house? Have you had any issues with electrical stuff? Do you have the sounds of animals? Do you think that maybe something could be in the walls, that's causing some of these noises?
Even all the way down to the point where you ask them what medications
Yeah.
are you?
What drugs do you take? But you have to, in order to sometimes get to the bottom of where this is coming from.
And not to mention, the first time we ever debunked one of our first, we got a case passed off to us by another group. They couldn't make it, and it was over in the Benton area of Roanoke. We get over there. The lady is adamant that she's caught this orb that was about the size of a beach ball going down the street. And after we get there, and you got to go back to that point of, all right, where were you standing? Where were you filming? Well, when I went back and tried to replicate what she was filming, I duplicated it perfectly because it was just a spot of crud on her door that was showing up. Because our phones don't know the difference between out and in. It just films what it's filming. So, and I told her, I said, and she was, she's like, what? Bummed at first, and then she was relieved. I'm like, okay, well, you got to pick one of the two. But she was very relieved because apparently somebody in the neighborhood had passed away, and she thought it was a spirit. And it's just stuff like that. And getting to know the people, that's the next thing. We've met a great bunch of people doing this, and they entrusted us to come in and do what we do. And it's just...
There's
gratifying.
There's no bigger honor than being asked to come into someone's home. That's their private, personal space.
Right. Exactly.
To come in and be in that space with them to try to figure out what's bothering them. So,
when you ever encounter, I guess, a haunting just for effect, I mean, is it something that's specific to that place, or are there certain people that bring that out in something more spiritual, kind of like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost? You know what I mean? Like the thing clicked, next thing you know, there's people all around her and everywhere like that. I mean,
so believe it or not, there actually is a lot of situations where it can go either way. I mean, we've ran into a lot of homes and properties that truly were haunted, whether it was an intelligent haunting, which is where they will interact with you. You can ask them questions and they will somehow show you the answer to that. Or it could have been that there was, residual haunting, where it's just like a memory that just plays over and over because that's just what happened in life. You can't communicate with it, and it doesn't even know that you're there.
It's just like playing a VCR tape runs out, it just rewinds and plays over and over
Exactly.
again. That's why you'll see some people say, I've seen a Confederate soldier in my home every day at 3:15. That's because that thing is making its rounds.
Jubilee.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Now,
Exactly.
so we're gonna get deep with some of this stuff because my mind goes all kinds of crazy places with this stuff. So, are ghosts or spirits or whatever you may call them, or is it a combination of it, or are they here for a specific reason, or is it possible that they are just on a different plane than us, and sometimes our planes kind of interact, and that's when we see them. It's those moments in time where we just happen to come across each other.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think that it's a little bit of both. I think that there are times when someone dies so fast and so unexpectedly.
Like in Ghost, Patrick Swayze.
Pretty much. That they,
shocks the system.
yeah, they literally do have stuff that they haven't done yet, and they're trying to finish that before they can really move.
My hair's already standing up on the back of my head, by the way.
But I also think that, it can be the other way too. So, I do think that to some extent, and our daughter and son-in-law and us have had this conversation more than one time about two different planes that somehow or the other manage to connect at the same time at times.
Because we've actually been told, that like, and I even hate to use the word, suicides, homicides, stuff like that. The spirit can get shocked out the body. The body then it's just a capsule. The spirit just gets shocked out in the open. That's what they tend to call that purgatory area. And that could be the case, or a spirit feels like they got unfinished business, or it could be a landowner or somebody that's built a house that's been, they're in love with that place. They want to come back. They stay there. Yeah, it's not a perfect science. Nobody's ever really figured it out. So,
and I think it's very much possible that it all is a bunch of different things. And I can't remember how he put it, but Tim Pool put a phenomenal spin on it. I think I wish I could remember exactly how he put it, but it was something to be like, maybe there's also time lapses where 100 years ago or something like that, somebody's sitting in this position. This is why older houses tend to have more of this activity, because maybe 100 years ago, people are sitting here in this moment in time, and here we are 100 years later, and somehow maybe our timelines connect, and we're seeing each other, and we can't really explain it, and it's just for a very brief moment, but then it busts back out. It's just this crazy stuff where, time isn't linear. It's, they say it's circular, and, you can fold it back on itself. And then when you do that, that's how you kind of see some of these interactions. So, there's a multitude of different things that it could be. And I think that's what's so much fun about the discussion.
No matter how many times you want to hear it said, time never stands still.
Well, when you hear the term deja vu,
yes.
What do you think that is,
I have it all the time. What is deja vu to you all? What is your opinion on it?
My opinion is that it is a place that you, or an activity, or a person that you truly have interacted with at some point in time. Sometimes maybe you'll feel like there's a smell or something.
I have felt that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has to a certain degree. I just think that it's somehow or the other we have interacted with that situation. And I don't know, when was it, Was it in a past life? Was it, I don't know.
A lot of the times my deja vu comes from dreams. Like, I will dream it, and then years later, this moment will happen. I'm like, holy hell. I remember dreaming about this at some point in time. And it could be the dream, and the dream could also be your subconscious tapping into, another lifetime or another, and if time really is circular, I go back to a really good, Futurama episode. I don't know if anybody's ever watched that show or something, but there was one fabulous episode where, God, what's his name? The doctor, the head guy or whatever, the old guy, he creates a time machine or whatever. And he goes so far into the future that they're like, well, daggone, we've outlived the universe. Universe is just a desolate place. So they just crack open a couple beers and let's just just see it to the end. And they hit forward on it and they're watching the universe crumble and stuff. Next thing you know, the universe starts building again, and they move so far forward that they go backwards, and they can come right back into their timeline, and they're right back to where they started. So if time is like that, and I'm not saying, because I'm a spiritual guy, and I don't know if I will say I'm not religious as far as the mainstream religion goes. I don't really buy into the Joel Osteens of the world and all this kind of stuff. I like my local hometown preachers, and I believe in the good Lord, but we can't sit here and pretend to understand even what he's all about, or, what his plans are. And who knows if he doesn't cycle us through our life 3 or 4 times to see how we're going to act or react or interact.
Some days it seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I mean, you pick the Bible, the Bible, they mentioned, spirits and demons. And another cool thing is that you read back, even Albert Einstein believed in spirits. Because he said, as we sit here right now, we're energy. When we pass on, that energy's still here. The capsule might be in the ground, but the energy still is out in the open. So it's
true. And I mean, if you read, we've read so many books on, death and what happens after that. And one of the neatest experiments, I think, that was actually done, and I can't remember the book that it was in,
so they weighed it.
Where they weighed, they knew this person was on their way out. They had them on a I guess basically a scale, and had weighed them. And when they passed, at the moment that they passed, several ounces came down from there.
Off the weight.
And exactly. So
really?
It was very interesting to think that the soul leaving the body at that point can actually make you weigh less. So yeah, it was some really interesting heavy stuff.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people out there, they have their opinions on this whole matter, whether ghosts are real or anything to this. And I have personally never seen anything. I've been in moments where I thought, like even in this house, I'll hear what I consider footsteps up here where we're sitting right now when I'm downstairs and there's nothing going on up here. And in other houses I've lived in, same things. You'll hear things crash and you'll run into the other room and nothing is dropped. Nothing like that. But I've never seen anything substantial. But I've got 2 stories that will be very quick. I want to tell as to why I believe. One of them, and I told Scott this earlier, is my uncle, my mom's brother, he committed suicide back in the late 80s. And, my grandpa, God rest his soul, was one of the most awesome people on the planet. Would never told a lie in his life. I guarantee. Well, not to me anyway, or not to, I'm sure when he was younger, he probably, but him and my brother both, and my brother was probably 3 or 4 at the time, and my grandpa was in his early 50s. Not long after my uncle had died, he had built a building behind my grandparents' house, and both of them were out in the yard, and both of them saw an apparition sitting on top of the building. He was just sitting up there. I said, "Y'all holler at him or scream?" And they said, "No, we just watched him. He was sitting up there and just kind of looking off into the distance, and and that was it." And the second one that made me believe is my grandma, my grandpa's wife, who's still alive, thank God. She was telling me about her dad, and this was down in the Redwood area here where they grew up, off of Doe Run, Chestnut Hill Road area, and they lived in on that farm. We've had it for probably 100 years, the family has. And she was telling me her dad was walking up the road one day, and there was a blue orb off in the distance, maybe 50 yards away into the woods. And as he walked, the orb followed, and he could never figure out what it was. And you hear that story, and you're like, who knows what was going on, whatever. But one of my closest friends, Craig Anderson, he grew up, a couple miles down the road on Ballpark Road. And one day, without provoking him or without ever mentioning this story, he was telling me about him and some of his friends walking through the woods, which is semi-close, and that same exact blue orb followed them in the same exact manner that my grandma described. And I said, how is that possible that 100 years apart almost, that two people witnessed the same exact thing and they never knew that the other existed? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And see, to me, that's what we call residual haunting. It's something that's actually attached to that property. So, I mean, it can show itself at any time, or maybe it's running that same.
Well, it was about 2 miles away, which made it even more, I mean, could somebody be haunting like a specific area code or zip code, or does it have to be within there's no rules that say it has to be within a certain distance?
No, thank you. I mean, that's like I tell people, they're like, well, do you only investigate at night? And I say, no, we invest, spirits don't punch a time clock. They're going to haunt the day as much as we're going to haunt the night. And, we've had people come in and say, I come in, my cabinet doors are slamming, my doors are opening and shutting. And of course, it's a crapshoot. We go in. Sometimes they know what's going on. Things will be still as a church. Not hear a thing, not see a thing. We leave the house. We haven't even got home. People text us. Yeah, this is happening. This is happening. So they don't have any type of specific time they're going to do anything. So yeah, I mean that could be something residual that's been on that stretch. Not to say even that 2 mile stretch, that might have been one whole piece of property at one time, and that's connected to that piece of property.
I'm going to step outside the lines with this one just a little bit, though, because paranormal.
I would expect you to.
Right? Because that's what I do. And if it's in my head, it's got to come out my mouth. So that's just how I work. But so not only could that be a haunting, that also could be witch lights.
Exactly.
Witches, people have mixed feelings about witches.
Okay, what are witch lights?
Witch lights are actually from witches. Like, they are lights that the witches would put out that would catch the attention of people that would be curious enough to come and follow them. And it would lead them, that person basically, to where the witch wanted them to be. So a
good-hearted person would not follow that and would continue down the path of righteousness, but...
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
In that, I will say there are good witches and bad witches. Yeah. That would be on the bad witches.
We're not talking Wizard of Oz stuff, though.
not talking Wizard of Oz stuff.
Not monkeys.
So, yeah.
Real
but I do think that, those definitely could have been witch lights. It could have been, something outside of just the ghost realm.
Absolutely.
So, for you, first off, not to side wrecks, but 256 laps. I didn't realize there was this many laps going on here in the race, but Yeah, there's a lot for this mod race. I don't know what's going on the other one, but let's start from the beginning. What interested you two, first off, into getting into this? Is it something that you all both separately did before you ever got together and it brought you together, or is it something that you both...
Not once did I ever consider doing this. And it was funny because at the time I was working at Martinsville, and I'm standing in my little pit stall, and I get a text from her going, "There's something in this house." And I'm going, "Yeah, there's 2 cats and the daughter, and what else do you want?" She sends me this picture, and it's just as clear as day. You see a cloudy outline of like a head and a shoulder, as if it's looking around the door, looking at her on the couch. Now I had to go into media center in total darkness to see it. So about 2 weeks later, I get off the mower. I come in the house and I get the traditional, summer after mowing beverage and sit down, and I'm like, I'm gonna take some pictures around the house. And I caught an image, and I'll be glad to show it to you later, of this perfect just outline of a figure standing as if they're in our bathroom looking back towards me in the living room.
So what year was this?
This would have been 2012.
Okay, so...
the year before we started our group in 2013.
Okay, so y'all had no interest in this, nothing you ever thought about. Y'all were together, and...
I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I have had experiences since I was a kid. I have always had experiences which made me curious. I've had certain gifts since I was a kid that I kind of put on the back burner because...
What kind of gifts? Let's talk about those.
So when I was younger, I thought that it was a really cool trick that I could do with my eyes, that I could see colors around people. So I was seeing their auras and didn't realize that, and would say something to my mom about it, and eventually I got enough looks and talk back that I realized maybe I'm a little odd and I shouldn't be saying things like that because it makes people uncomfortable. So I kind of pushed it down and got out of it. Able to see energies, if you will, I guess. I would be at home after school. Back in the day, us kids were able to actually go home after school and be by ourselves and go in and lock the door and not burn the house down. So, I would be at home and in my room thinking that I've heard mom or dad come in and kind of pop my head out the door, and enough time to see something go around the corner into mom's room. And I'm like, why isn't she answering me? So, of course, I start walking through the house going, Mom, and I get into her room and enough time to see it go around the doorway into her bathroom. And as I follow into the bathroom, there's literally nothing there. So, there's been enough things going on since I was a kid that has just had my curiosity piqued. I did practice Wiccan for the longest time until I felt like there was such a stigma to it, and people were, looking at it in such a harsh enough light that I didn't want my daughter to have to reap the benefits or, the harshness of that. So I kind of stopped that. But
not to mention, it almost stopped a marriage.
It did. It kind of freaked Dawn out a little bit.
I studied Wiccan. I'm like, I don't.
Okay, so for anybody out there that doesn't know what Wiccan is, it's part of the witch stuff, right?
It is.
So go into a little bit detail about that for anybody.
So Wiccan practice, basically it's all of love and light, and it's, of the land and being respectful to everything around you and understanding that everything around you has a purpose and has a soul and a meaning, and respecting that.
And you're not on the pagan side.
I'm not on the pagan side of things.
And that's why I wanted you to clarify that, because when you read Wiccan, your immediate thought, if you don't know what you're talking about, is, like satanic, Satan, witches, and stuff like that. But for me, it's the same as anarchy. Like, a lot of times people ask, I'm an anarchist. I'm a anarcho-capitalist. That's my political ideology. And they're like, oh my God, you just want total and complete chaos. No, that's not what anarchy is. Anarchy is without government. And that's all I want.
Right.
I don't want people. I don't want Somalia. I just don't want what we got right now. I don't want, these douchebags in D.C. or these douchebags in California, telling me how I should live here in Virginia. The only person that needs to tell me how I should live is myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I take care of myself and I take care of my neighbors and my neighbors take care of their neighbors, we don't need the government. And that's why I'm an anarchist. And people get such a terrible misconception of it.
Right.
Wiccan, the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, until you realize what you're talking about, it's just...
Yeah.
It's all in the ideology of how
Yes.
you want to look at it.
Yeah. And there's, like you said earlier, there's good witches and bad witches and stuff. So let's talk about some of the witches, because I was talking to y'all a little bit earlier about some people that had contacted me, and y'all know these people very well. If y'all want to mention their names, y'all can, because we've already reached out to them about coming on the show, and I think they're going to. But, to kind of tease that show, what would be the difference in a good witch and a bad witch?
So good witchcraft is again, of love and light. Everything that you do is with the purpose of good intention. It's, to help and to, push the positivity in and push the negativity out. Bad witches.
I'm scared to hear what a bad.
Bad witches are exactly what you think they are. They are.
bad?
They're bad. They're there for negative reasons. They're there to I guess for self-efficacy. They just really want whatever the outcome is. It's going to be very selfish. It's maybe it's monetary, maybe it's, because they don't like this person, or maybe it's because, something bad happened to their family and they're going to bestow something bad on this family. There's always a bad reason behind everything that they're doing.
Well, that doesn't even have to be centralized towards witchcraft. That's just everyday people.
That is correct.
That is everyday people. There are some people out there that want the best, that want to, a rising tide raises all ships. There's those kind of people that want everybody around them. And that's why I like to think about this show and us and, me and Scott and all, but like, I want everybody around us to enjoy themselves more and have a good time with all this kind of, but there are some people out there that are they've got a negative energy, and that negative energy they use to.
And it's contagious.
It is. Everything is contagious. Good is contagious, and so is bad. And if you surround yourself with good people, you're going to become a good person. If you surround yourself with bad people, and I think that kind of all goes back to everything that this is all about, with all the energies and, all the separate maybe planes that we live on, and maybe what's going on in our own heart and our own soul, and the things that we allow to come into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're allowing these kind of bad things to come into it, then you're going to see these bad things, right?
You are. You're opening the door for it.
So all that stuff is it's fascinating to me.
With the picture thing, I have had my parents take pictures before at a family reunion, and my grandma had just passed, and there was an outline at the end. It weirded me out.
Yeah, it was just you just know there was somebody else in the picture.
Yeah.
And also, when my grandpa died, the way I felt like he talked to us is me and my dad was standing out on the front porch of a house, and the graveyard's right up a hill, and there was steps formed going straight from the grave up to heaven, and that
that's cool.
that was closure for us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That was closure.
Let me once again, not to derail too, let me just say how proud I am of Scott here tonight, because I had him on the show with Hermie Sadler and Bill Stanley a few weeks ago, and he might have said 5 words, which
You were saying he didn't talk, so this is nice.
which is why I said I named that episode the Swapcast of leaning right and turning left, featuring Hermie Sadler, Bill Stanley, with special host Scott Minix, because he said 5 words. I thought it'd be kind of funny to throw his name. But for me, I love this, because if Scott just sat over there and didn't say a daggone word, no matter the guest, I like having him there, because I can kind of still feed off him back and forth, and I can kind of feed off his, his body language and stuff. I kind of know where it's going. But to have him actually here, sitting here, because he was super nervous. I said, I need you to step in and be my co-host tonight. And the first thing he told me, he's like, man, he said, the ghost stuff, man, it's weird. It weirds me out, man. I don't know if they're crazy or not, or what to think about it.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, and then now here he is. Y'all have just opened him up. So kudos to that. Whatever y'all got going for y'all to open Scott up, that's
Like I said, just us sitting here, we're sitting here waiting to get the show started. And next thing we're talking about a little bit of everything. 2 hours has passed and we still hadn't started the show. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. It's kind of like we're just
you're friends.
Yeah,
you walked in immediately and we're all friends.
Yeah, and that goes to the positive energy and stuff we're talking about, and I think still ties into all this kind of stuff. And it's cool. It's cool. So I appreciate that, Scott. I appreciate you stepping up to the plate here today for us. And it's good that I'm so happy to be able to include Scott and all my buddies into stuff like this. I think being able to have these kind of talks and conversations, it's fun. There's so much. So ask them one of your biggest questions about it then, because you said you had so many of them.
I didn't.
You just literally said that. You said I had questions.
just let her rip, Tater Chip. I mean, let us know what you want.
Yeah, I don't. So anyway, sorry to derail there and put you on a spot scoop.
You put me on a spot, that's when I forget everything.
It's fine. Scott's doing a fantastic job about this. He's doing a wonderful job. So we go back to the Wicked and stuff. We talk about the good witches and bad witches. So what else could you possibly talk about when it comes to like are there a lot of phonies out there as well? Are there a lot of people out there who will just take up your time and they're just doing it for the money? And
there was a good friend of ours. We've become friends, as Don said, with a lot of other folks that are in this same field, and that are completely genuine to the field and to themselves. They have not changed since they've started this, and some of them are in TV. And I think one of them put it best when we were talking a few weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yep, and he said they're good advertisers.
No, they're
good businessmen.
Good businessmen.
And that's exactly what they're doing. The folks that are in it for those reasons are in it for the money. We don't charge anything for what we do.
Oh, really?
If there's anybody who loves what they do in this field, there's no reason to charge.
No, there's not.
And like I said, we was talking to him, and I said, what about this guy? Why is this guy still on TV? And he's a good businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, I mean, you see that everywhere. I mean, you see that in racing. You see people at the top level as NASCAR that are there not because of their racing abilities, because you could probably go to some of these short tracks here on Saturday nights and find somebody that can wheel one of them cars a lot better, but they are very good for marketing. And, hey, Danica Patrick was one of them. They wanted to bring women into the sport. And I talked to this on the other show recently for what you might say about her. And I don't think she was a very good driver. I don't think she earned or really deserved her ride. But there are a ton of little girls out there who might have decided, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. And you might find a girl out there that really can race, and now she's going to come up in the sport and win because she was put out there. So, I mean, sometimes the marketing stuff, it really does work.
She opened it up to women.
She did. She was kind of that gateway drug that got the women starting being noticed. I'm going to go ahead and call it out right now. You look at Bowman Gray, Amber Lynn.
Yeah.
That girl, she can wheel a car. And, she's a little spitball, too. So
she was supposed to come on our These Lug Nut show a few weeks ago and completely ghosted us.
Come on.
Yeah, she did. We were really excited about that one. But that's fine, but you still got to at least give the courtesy of a message or a reply or something like that. I mean, for that show, we're only 10 episodes in. If you haven't checked it out, by the way, go check out These Lug Nuts. It's solely racing. We kind of really talk about everything that's went on in the racing week for that week. And we have some phenomenal guests in 10 shows. And we've already had, Chris Williams, director of the Smart Modified Tour. We've had Steve Post of MRN Radio, Matthew Dillner, Lost Speedways. We've had a phenomenal lineup. Plus, Landon Pemberton, 16, 17 years old, won the Martinsville race a couple years ago. I mean, Danville, Silvestri, a lot of these young guys. So, it's just, for me, it's like, man, we've had some big names on here. You could have joined those big names. And so, yeah, I agree. And I'm not going to.
You never know what was going on.
You don't, but still, you still gotta at least reach back out and say, hey, here's what's going on. Let us know this thing. But but it's still not taken away from the fact that she is a
I'll
spitball.
go ahead and just put it out there. Amber Lynn, you need to get in touch with these guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
But continue on because she still is a spitfire. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take anything away from her or her driving abilities. Yeah,
because she's going to put the bumper to anybody.
Yeah, especially at Bowman Gray, you got to. But, you can go back to any. Let's say over the last. Now we're going to switch into racing for a second, but you go into about the last 5 years. You can go almost to any short track, and you got at least a couple females running either street stocks, limiteds, late models. They're not getting their due, and sooner or later it's going to come to light that, well, I guess it depends on the money side of it too, how much money they got to throw at it. But there's a lot of talent out there. Just because you ain't got to be a dude to get out there.
No, you ain't got to be a dude to do anything.
I'm going to date you a little bit. Do you remember Chrissy Taylor?
Absolutely.
She could race. That was back in the early 90s up there at Callaway. She was the only female that would go up there. And I'm pretty sure she'd race in the late model races. And she'd put you in the wall if she had to. I don't ever remember seeing her win a race because back then it was tough at Callaway. Because you had the McGuire brothers, Dudley Lawhorn, Six-Pack Rodney Cundiff. You had Jimmy Mullins. You had, Rick Sigmund. Yeah, because he used to ride the number 32 Riddle Oldsmobile, and everybody say, man, is that your vehicle? I said, I don't even know who the Riddles are in Martinsville.
That's who I used to go watch all the time.
Yeah.
Because he was related to my uncle, not through blood, but I grew up watching him. Rick Sigmund.
You think about it, back in about the mid-90s, you had the Doodle Langs over there. You had...
and Kenny Minter, guy rest his soul.
Oh, God, man. Kenny was just a master. He was a surgeon at Franklin County. So
he turned the fastest lap ever there in a modified long before anybody ever else did. And I think it took him quite a while to actually break his record. And that was back in the 90s.
Yeah, I think, if I ain't mistaken, Bert got close to breaking it at the Smart Race back in the spring. I think
somebody broke it. Somebody broke it. I can't remember who sat on the pole that. I think
they did break it?
I think 4 or 5 cars broke it that. Yeah. Because they were flying that day. I think Jonathan Brown might have been sitting. Yep, that's Gershner. But yeah, how in the hell we get off on racing? It says, we were talking about, the marketing aspect of things and people, I kind of get it, and I get it for a lot of different things. But I think when it comes to what you all do, I think it's a little disingenuous because people are looking for real answers. People are being very genuine. And like you mentioned earlier, people are allowing you into their homes, into their personal lives. So if you're not going in there and being genuine about it, I think it's disrespectful and disingenuous. So, if you want to make money off of it and you're doing a good job and you really care about it, you just happen to get lucky enough to do it, then so be it. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are grifting and are just doing it for the money, and they're not giving people the proper closure that they're looking for.
They absolutely are. They're out there to tell people what they think the people want to hear, and to make their buck at it. And it's an easy way for them to, I'm just going to put it bluntly, con someone so that they don't have to, go out and actually do the real, work that goes behind it. I think it's just like we've talked about, there's so much of this that just kind of relates back to life in general. I don't know why anybody wants to dupe somebody else. If you can't help somebody in this world, then what are you leaving behind when you're gone?
Well, a lot of those negative spirits out there. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
I think that, when you're doing something like this and you end up not being genuine about it, you're bringing bad karma onto yourself.
Absolutely.
And karma's a real thing.
It really is. I believe in karma. I believe in, all kinds of stuff like that because, what goes around comes around.
It does.
And that's the thing about this show, I'm kind of the same way. I don't, like y'all, I don't ever ask anybody to give me anything for coming on the show. I don't ever expect anything. I want to promote, and I want people to be happy about what we do. And the same with you all. You want people to get their closure.
Right.
Hey, I'm just looking at it like this. It's a Saturday night. We're in Rocky Mount, Virginia. That can't get no better than that.
Well,
and here on this podcast, I know Billy appreciates you having
Yeah, I love this. I love these deep
I do too.
conversations.
I mean, we found out some real shit here.
Yeah. I mean, because you get really deep and you get to thinking about this kind of stuff. And
yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm going to be thinking as I try to sleep tonight. What was that?
Just make sure you lock your windows, lock your doors.
We talked about this a little bit. We touched on this a little bit before we even got started, though. And I'm going to say again, there are so many older homes around just our area. Whether it's here, whether it's in Botetourt County or Bedford County, there's a lot of history in the areas that we live in. And the homes that are there, I would be very surprised if somebody could point out to me, one older home that doesn't have some kind of activity, even if it's not an intelligent type thing where it's interacting with you, but it's just that residual running through the whole loop thing, and you're hearing what's going on or seeing what's going on.
now, do you think is there a ton of activity going on in places that aren't houses, but we just don't realize it or recognize it because we're not there? Like, you go out to a battlefield somewhere and there's no houses out there, but there are so many stories of Gettysburg and things like that.
There are. I'm going to tell you. So when I was a kid, we used to go to Williamsburg, and we actually had family up in Pennsylvania. So we would go to Gettysburg as we were traveling and visiting with everyone. And we happened to go and take one of the battlefield tours, and the tour guide would actually get in your car and drive you through the battlefield and talk about different places as you went through. And she's talking, and I'm kind of looking out the window, and there's not really a lot out there to see. There's monuments that they have that mark certain battles and different things that happen. But I asked her, I said, is that man, are they just dressed up in uniform and, doing reenactments and all today? And she said, there's nobody out here doing any reenactments, and I'm like, no, there's a guy over here that's literally dressed
There goes that hair on my head again, standing up.
And she's like, no, she said, there's nobody out there. And we don't have anybody out here today that's doing any reenactments. So, yes, battlefields, old battlefields, a lot of people have a misconception that, the graveyard is a resting place. Unless it was a battlefield before it became a graveyard, there should be no reason for there to be.
So y'all don't even waste your time with graveyards. That's not.
That was a question I had.
Yeah.
I had Billy earlier.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because you'll see, anybody can go on any of the websites and order any of this equipment we got sitting here. And it's funny to see somebody, all of a sudden, they'll pop up on, social media. Yeah, we're a paranormal investigation group. And the first place you see them is in a graveyard. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, look at all these orbs we caught. No, that's your flash reflecting through dust. Learn your boundaries first before you try to go into it. And it took us a long time. And like I said, luckily with some of the guys that we've got to know that's in the industry, we got a few resources we can send a picture to and say, all right, what about this one? And it's either, okay, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's not good. And there's been times we've had pictures sent to us and it's like, okay, well, there's this ball or there's a shadow or something like that. You get there, the first thing you got to do is try to replicate exactly what you got on your phone. If we can replicate it, then it's busted.
Well, and another aspect to that is these folks that have outdoor cameras, that have night vision. We have, oh, look at this. We caught this on our night vision camera. And you're looking at it and you see that there's movement and you see that there's this blob looking thing. But then you start to realize the movement looks like a spider walking on the web, or something like that. And you're like, no, I don't think that's what you think it is, and then they get offended because now you said, okay, this is actually what it is, and they thought that they've got this.
You took all your dreams.
So they get offended.
They do. Yeah, there's times when they will get offended. I mean, and there's been more times than not, like Don said, that we've been able to debunk, and it's not hard to do sometimes, and other times, people really do have something real going on. So,
okay, just for the record, I'm actually still keeping up with everything, but I'm kind of like watching a tennis match between Dominion and Riverhead.
Yeah.
I just say Lamoni's going to have a time getting past big money. That's going to be a tough pass to make.
It will, but there's still a lot of racing left to go, and talk about talk about two legends running. I mean, Bobby Labonte is, I mean, he's just a race car legend as it is, but Matt Hirschman, to be able to be compared to Richie Evans when it comes to modifieds, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. You don't find somebody out there.
You start talking about Richie Evans, you talk about Teddy Christopher, Mike Stefanik, you're talking about my heroes right there, so these guys are good. But yeah, Eddie, he's not doing too bad tonight, so he's hanging in there, but
yeah, and for everybody,
there's a lot of talent right there on that racetrack.
it is, and I'm pretty sure there are a couple guys from Bowman Gray. Danny Bones up there tonight racing. Yeah, he's up there racing. It's a pretty stacked field, when you throw. Yeah, all the normals, all the the Jonathan Browns of the world. Yeah, this is cool. This is what Saturday nights is all about. But
talk about ghost hunting.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So, Labonte just got up in the mess and got. Okay, so for you all, if somebody calls you up, let's talk about what you all do and how you set up your equipment and what you're looking for and things like that. So, if somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, it seems like I got some crazy stuff going on here." What aside from the background that you were speaking about earlier, when you go there and you decide that it's something that you want to investigate, how does it go from there?
So from there, we go in, of course, and meet the folks. And the first question is, show me around. Show me where you're hearing or seeing or having this activity. And they'll take us usually on the tour of the areas that are the most active, in their opinion. And then from there, we decide, what equipment we feel is appropriate to use in which location. We have, about 6 cases of equipment?
Yeah, we got about 5 cases and probably about 3K in
Yeah.
equipment.
So it's, and there is literally, it's like anything else. There's a tool for everything.
Yeah, but we still, most time, we only open 5 cases to get 4 pieces of equipment out. Because it's just that tried and true, we know we can rely on this thing to tell the tale.
So do you all need to have something happen or feel something or sense something before you even pull your equipment out, or?
Not at all. We'll walk in and there's times when, so I'm sensitive. There's times when we'll walk in and I'll feel something. He's gotten really good at tapping into his,
What is it that you feel?
When I walk in, I can feel like it's almost like a shift in the air. Like there's
Scott said if he got cold tonight, he was walking out of the room. He told me before the show started. He said, "Man, if I feel it get cold in there, I'm walking right out."
Hell, I'll be surprised if he don't tell you to close the window in a few minutes.
Instead of 4 people in this room, if there were something here, it would feel like this room was full. It was crowded. There wouldn't be moving room. So that's kind of how I associate if there's something going on. We had one case where it was probably one of our first cases.
It's probably one of the more first serious cases.
Yeah, that we had that was kind of, it wasn't great, but what she had going on. But I mean, it also was not demonic like a lot of other groups would like for people to believe that things are. And so we go in, and immediately when you walk in, you felt like you were breathing underwater.
Wow.
It was just that heavy. It was so heavy in that house. It was just like you had a weight vest on.
Yeah.
So you guys knew.
Yeah.
As soon as you walked through the door.
As soon as you
And where was this place at?
That was actually
in Roanoke.
Okay.
It was
well, it was right off of Cove Road.
yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I don't know if it's considered Roanoke County or if it's
Yeah, it's still
actually
Roanoke
Salem,
County.
but so yeah, it was in the Roanoke area, and you walk in and you could immediately you could feel it, and the equipment as soon as we set it up started going off. There was, sometimes we get nothing at all. We'll go and do an investigation, and we'll sit there, and it's just like crickets for hours, and we've got nothing. Not saying that the place doesn't have something going on. It's just that they choose not to show themselves to us that night.
Yeah, they won't play nice.
So, but this particular case, she had some stuff going on that was just not good. I think it was just an energy that was not, if they're not good in life, they're not good in death. They're not going to change and all of a sudden become these really nice people just because they
They're
passed
gonna be
on.
worse.
They're because they can, because they now have different abilities that they can use to be worse.
And no consequences.
And no consequences.
In their whatever mind they
Correct.
have. Yeah.
That's correct. So, we think that that's probably what was behind that. And I think Dawn ended up just with that one really getting, very forceful in him telling it that it was time for it to leave. It wasn't welcome there. And that was the tipping point. She actually was able to have restful nights at that point, and she wasn't experiencing anything anymore.
So, I mean, you got to put yourself in a different frame of mind. And, I'm not going to say I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, I'm going to say I didn't know what I was doing. But, we had reached out, and some of our friends in the industry said, look, you're just going to go in and just be an asshole. Go in and tell it. It's time for you to leave. You got to get out. This lady deserves rest. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going back through my mind, thinking of what movies I could, all right, who could I? Am I going to walk into Stone Cold Steve Austin? Am I going to try to stun this guy? What am I
Yeah, he'll conjure some of the biggest personalities sometimes.
But, I walked in, I started at one end of the house and drove it to the other end of the house. And I'm like, your time's up. Leave. You're not welcome. And I think probably because there was never a male figure in the house, I don't know if that did it or what. But, 2 nights later, this lady calls us up and she's like, look, she's almost in tears going, I've never slept this good. Whatever here is gone.
She's at peace.
Yeah, she was at peace. And of course, I'm sitting there going, right.
Yeah. Oh, that song.
Yeah, Bill Goldberg speared that spirit.
Whenever she reached back out because she was having another experience.
Yeah.
And in that experience, we were busy, and I told her, I said, there's no way that we can get back out there to you anytime soon. I'm like, can you tell me what's going on? So we talked over the phone. She's like, so it's a friend of mine from school, from childhood that, I grew up with. And she said, he keeps coming to me in my dream. She said, a friend of mine and I had gone to a party that we saw him at a couple years back. And I told her that night he wasn't going to live very long after that night. And she said, I don't know really why I said that. But she said, he's coming to me in my dreams telling me that he's not in a good place and he needs help. And she said, I feel like he's just, so we getting the gist of the story, and I'm like, okay. So I said, I can help you cross him over because that's what needed to happen. He was kind of stuck.
But is he still alive or is he dead at this point?
Dead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he was stuck because he died, but he died unintentionally. He actually was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and he got in a hot tub and he took too much alcohol and he passed out and drowned.
Wow.
So, he felt like he let his mom down. He felt like he let, some of his family down because he wasn't, he did, because of that happening. And so I called him to me. We were really busy and I completely forgot to cross him that night. And so I didn't sleep well that night. I had the weirdest dreams, and she texted me the next morning. She's like, what happened? Because last night was terrible. Like, I had these terrible dreams again. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to do it. I said, I just got busy. So I stopped everything I was doing and I told him. And sometimes he's used as a vessel, and because I know that he is grounded enough that he can do that for me. And he's...
Is that what you call him, putting down the patio and putting up the
Yes,
gazebo?
you're a vessel for these things to happen.
I was a vessel to put up a gazebo and put down
yes.
pavers and patio.
And so I told him to come with me, and we went into the living room, and I said, I just need for you to sit here and close your eyes and open your mind. And in that minute, when I called, all of the protectors that I need at those times to help cross a soul, the room felt like it was busting at the seams. It was just so full.
I mean, have you ever had a point to where, like, you've had a head cold and your ears are stopped up and your ears feel like they're? That's what it felt like. And when she was telling me she was going to do this, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. And, okay, let's see what happens. And that's,
Oh,
They
What
say
was-
it goes off all the time.
okay. I will say, by the way, for anybody didn't hear that, a piece of equipment is just sitting here turned on, and all of a sudden it just started beeping.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was, I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of like our wedding date, do what I'm told, and just kind of just chill out. And just, it was wild. It really was.
Did you feel it leave?
You can feel it when they cross. You can feel the peace that comes with it and the warmth and knowing that they're now on the other side where they need to be.
Yeah, I told her it's almost
So-
like, how when you're, like you'll just get that cold, not really cold chill, but that heat comes in after you get that cold chill. That's what it felt like. And when I opened my eyes, she was staring dead at me, and she's like, "He's crossed." I'm like, "Thank God." Okay, good. So, and that's when I realized, yeah, she's definitely got talents.
So this lady, I guess she would be one of the ones that fall into one of these people that just has an extremely large amount of spiritual activity going on for some reason to be able to have multiple experiences like that. I mean, not everybody has it, and some people do, right? I mean,
Right, exactly. And I think in her situation, because her heritage on her mother's side is Hawaiian, I think that could have a lot to do with it. They're very spiritual.
The Polynesian side.
Yeah,
very
and so I think that really has a lot to do with why she was able to have the experiences that she had. Her mother was also a traveler or an astral projector. So her mother would travel back to her homeland at night because she couldn't go in real life. She would go back to Hawaii and visit where her family lived.
okay, let's just stop for a second and rewind, because you are speaking to a lot of just hillbillies on the show. What is an astral projection?
So in astral projection, when you're in a relaxed...
Can you use that in a sentence?
Can you spell it?
Don't ask her. Don't ask me. I can get the A part, and after that, I'm done. I'm just gonna.
When you're in a very relaxed state, and it's not everybody that can do it, it's only a certain group of people that can do it. But when they're in a very relaxed state, usually sleep induced, they can actually their soul, in quotes, air quotes, if you will kind of leave their body. They will look back, they can see everything that's going on, they see themselves laying there, and they can see their room, and at that point they can travel anywhere that they want to go, and at a certain point they have no choice but to come back into their body.
Do they have to have visited that place to see it, or can they go to places that they like? Can they go to the top of Mount Everest, or is it kind of like one of the deals from the dude in X-Men where he can teleport, but he can't go through walls if he doesn't know what's on the other side? Is it one of
Yeah.
those deals?
No, they can actually go anywhere. They don't have to have been to that place before. There has actually been cases where folks have needed help, and the people that were able to do that have been able to travel there in that capacity to help. So,
Well, I think for something like that, it's one of two things, in my opinion. Either, you have it, or you're very, very good at meditation or praying, whatever you want to call it. I think meditation and praying are all one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the same exact thing. But if you're extremely good at that and you can really relax yourself, then I think you could do something like that. Now, me personally, my brain is way too wired, and I'm way too ADHD to be able to sit and relax like that and focus that much. So I might have to just look to drugs to do it. Maybe do some DMT or something and take me to that astral plane, because it just seems like
It's not real.
I'm the kind of guy that can, I can cut corners like that. So
in that particular plane, you're probably going to go, somewhere that your mind is also induced, not necessarily. an
I'm not
actual
going to
place.
do drugs after this anymore.
Take a trip and never leave the farm.
well, I mean, who knows? I mean, like
I love that place.
I just think, it's, it's just wild to think about, and I think a lot of you can tie it into a lot of different things, and a lot of people I think will disagree on the path but they all seem to agree on the destination. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that we face as humans is, you know what? Just because you don't have the same path as somebody doesn't mean your destinations can't be the same.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like my mom is and my grandma, they are two of the most wonderful, caring, giving Christian people on the planet. I have no doubt they are both going to heaven, first class ticket punched. Right. And me, on the other hand, I have screwed up time and time again. I cuss a lot. I drink. I'd make dumb decisions. I do terrible things. But in my heart, I know all the things I do are good. And I might not be going first class like them, but I'm going to be on coach. And I'm going to be sitting in the back sipping on a drink that I had to pay $12 for. You know what I mean? I really do. And I believe that goes for a lot of people out there. You know, really good people who, you know, maybe for whatever reason weren't introduced to Jesus or God or anything like that to no fault of their own, but in their heart, they're good people.
That's it.
And they're going to find the same
path.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's true. I was brought up in church, and I don't, you know, disagree with anybody in their religion. Anybody can believe anything that they want to and have those beliefs, and I'm 100% on board with that because I feel like people need something to believe in. Whether it's, you know, the higher being or God or, you know, whatever it might be. And I think that that's great. And I do agree that it doesn't matter, you know, what I guess how the journey gets you there, as long as you all get there. That's really, in the end, what is important, I think. So.
Well said.
Thank you.
I can't say any better myself.
Well, I stumble over myself sometimes, but I pick myself
I
up.
do the same thing. Sometimes I just start talking. Kind of like Will Ferrell in Old School when he's doing that debate. He just starts talking and he blacks out. It's like, what the hell did I just say? I mean, that's me 90% of the time on this show. I just start talking and somehow it comes out to be good.
And back and listen to it and you're like, when the hell did I say that?
Actually, I don't even listen to my shows anymore just because I'm so terrified of critiquing myself or listening. I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to let it ride. Plus, it gives me a chance at some point in time, maybe when I'm bored, to go back and listen when I've not thought about it as much, or it's months down the road or something, or I want to remember something. But, you know, for me, it boils down to good and evil. And I think that's all it is. I think either you're a good person or you're an evil person. I think the good people, at the end of the day, they're the righteous and they will ascend to a much better place. I think you can make mistakes. I can flip somebody off in traffic, and you know what? If I die 10 minutes down the road, I think God's gonna be like, you know what? That asshole probably deserved it. You know what I mean? He was driving like it. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna say, you know, he's not gonna look back and be like, you know, you did great by your kids. You loved your wife. You provided. You were good to people. But you flipped this dude off 10 minutes if he died. I'm going to go ahead and send you downstairs. I don't think that's going to be what it is. I think all the good people, and we probably should take all this, you know, and apply it to our everyday life. Because right now there is a lot of evil in the world, and there's a lot of evil in this country. And although I believe it's only 10 or 15%, that is a very loud 10 and 15%. You know?
Definitely is.
I mean,
It's just negative energy.
Yes.
Negative energy, negative forces, selfish people, and you think back to crazy movies and stuff like that, and you think about how ridiculous it is. But even Ghostbusters 2, we're not even going to the original, we're going to part 2. There was just an entire, like, the slime down below, and it was all negative energy of New York. And what they really needed to do to bust through that slime was get some positive energy, and they harnessed that positive energy of New York. Like, that's what we need right now in the world, because the negative energy is just a nasty cloud of it over top, and everybody wanting to fight over. You know, I know we joked when we started the show about this aerial stuff. Who cares? You know what I mean? Right now, gas prices are almost $4 a gallon. There are people dying all over the world, you know, through bombings and genocides and things that our own government are perpetrating. You know, there's wars in Ukraine. There's people here starving, and y'all want to argue about a damn fictional mermaid and what color she is. How freaking ridiculous. You know what I mean?
I agree, because mermaids are all different colors. They're purple, they're green, they're all different colors.
Actually, if you want to get scientific about it, they should be like translucent, because they're down so deep down in the sea that they're never getting any kind of sunlight. You should actually be able to see their bones and stuff through their skins. Yeah, like you know what I mean?
I was going to say, don't encourage any more of this conversation.
I relate to mermaids.
Mermaid, she jumped on.
she identifies as a mermaid.
I do identify as the mermaid.
So I don't know what kind of. I'm trying to watch my mouth here. Bullshit pronoun.
Yeah, because you got to go home with her too.
Yeah. She identifies as a mermaid, so.
Yeah. And I love colorful mermaids, so I don't care. Like, whatever.
Well, I just think it's just another thing in the long line of
Yes.
things that they continue to use
Yes.
to divide us. It's like,
It's about time we just.
Stand up.
It'd be nice if everybody just put their differences aside and we just become Americans again.
Yes.
Just get along.
I mean,
Yes.
September the 11th, what happened? We don't make a damn what color you were, what creed you were,
we were all
whatever.
united.
We were all Americans. I don't care if they were from China, Pakistan, or whatever. But if they were living here in the U.S., we were all Americans. So I mean, that's where we need to be. I mean,
And it's strayed so far from that now.
oh God, yeah.
It's terrible.
well, kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The good people are going to find their way, and the bad are going to find their way, and what we see going on today. I mean, the bad are finding their way, and we're not, and we have let the inmates take over the asylum, and the most ridiculous things are going on, and kind of how once again when I was talking about how we all find our way, all the good people are going to find their way. Well, I think us and even people that are in Antifa or Black Lives Matter, all these groups, we can all agree that it's the people at the top who are screwing everybody over. But for some reason, but for some reason beyond that, they want to think that their guy isn't one of those people, and they're going to fight for him to the end. You know what I mean? Like, they're all corrupt. Like your guy, he's an elitist. My guy, he's an elitist. They're all elitists. They're all sitting there counting their money, laughing at us. And not to take us too off political or anything. Given my life, and that's all I'm going to say, would I prefer the life I have now or the life I had 3 years ago with the person who was in office? I will take the guy who was 3 years ago in office. With that being said, nothing has given me any reason to think not every single one of them is completely corrupt, and not every single one of them is paid off. And this is a complete and total theatric shit show that we're going through right now to completely take our minds off the fact that they are robbing us blind and they do not want us to unite. But we all, and got the Black Lives Matter guys coming on here in a few days. I want to tell, the same thing I'm going to say to them. I'm like, look, we got so much more. We got 90% in common, and we fight over the 10% differences. It's completely, and it's negative energy. It's negative people, and there's so much of it that it's just contagious, like Scott said earlier.
Yeah, if you listen, it's funny because you listen to Tom McDonald's song "Brainwashed." He hits the nail right on the head. They don't want us getting
But they
along.
won't play his music.
They will not play his music.
Nope.
Because that one line.
He hits, but all of his songs
Hey.
hit on something different.
Yeah, he said because if we all get along, we'll probably go against them.
Yeah.
Excuse me, against them.
Yeah.
But still, that's the mentality. They want to keep us at odds.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing
I
a
don't
phenomenal
care.
job of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what color, what creed, what race, religion. If you're gay, you're straight, whatever. You're straight with me. I'm straight with you.
Yep.
You keep it 100
Yeah, it
with
makes
me, I
no
keep it 100
difference to
with you.
me either.
If you're a good person, if I can trust you around my family, please bring yourself
And
along and let's
tell-
learn from
you
each
can tell
other.
them people. You can tell them people that you're going to trust.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, and for me, and I've talked about this to Scott plenty of times before, and for me, it's not like the lady you were talking about who had multiple experiences. She has something like that on a spiritual level that I can't comprehend. But for me, I have it on a sociological level. I can read people in about 3 minutes, and I can read you so fast, and I will know in those 3 minutes whether I want you around me or my family for the rest of my life. And that's all it takes, because I don't have time for second chances. I don't have time for you to prove things to me if I don't get a good feeling from you. And that's why that I think this show has done so good in the year and a half, and we have exceeded so many expectations I couldn't even begin to tell you how thankful I am. But it's because I can sit down and I can read people, and I can understand what's going to be good and what's not going to be good.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that really leads to great conversations. It leads to bringing the right kind of people on here that other people want to listen to. And, and I'm not saying I haven't brought a couple people on here before that maybe I read wrong and it wasn't as good as I thought it would be, or because we all make mistakes. But more times than not, when it comes down to the nuts and bolts as far as my personal life, yeah, I don't allow anybody in here that I can't read correctly. And I think that's something that we all should start trying to focus on, and making progress in our own lives is choosing the right people to be around.
Your gut tells you something for a reason.
Yeah, follow it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been people. I mean, we've walked in some houses, and just like with a house, either we feel it or we don't. You walk up to that one person, and I'm not gonna lie, we've had people come in and out of our lives, and we felt it. All right, yeah, that's a big no.
Yeah.
You know, and your gut will never lead you wrong.
Yeah.
No.
You just the worst part of anybody is the same way all these years of being a fire and EMS. Whether you're working on a patient or you're on a fire scene, don't second guess yourself. If you got a gut instinct, go with it. Because 9 times out of 10, your gut has not led you wrong.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? I'll say 10 times out of 10, it hasn't led you wrong, because that is how I've lived my entire life. That's from, just randomly deciding I'm going to join the military, to randomly deciding I'm going to just change schools, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to take my future wife out on a date. Every decision ever, even the one that goes back to the awful decision I made for people I dated in my life that were very toxic, that decision was still necessary so I could learn and figure out what I want and figure out where I'm going to be at.
Right.
So every experience I've ever made has brought me to this moment in time. So I can't regret it, but I followed my gut every single time. And if you don't stray away from that, if you don't go with the mob, if you follow your own instincts, then like you said, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, you're going to find yourself in a much better place.
Absolutely.
Stand up, be that person, be that Chinese guy standing in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square. Stand up, be, Marvin Haymeyer. Be that person that says, I'm going to do me, and you're either going to like it or I'm going to die trying, but I will be a martyr, and people will eventually be inspired, by the things I've done. That's the kind of people we need in this world, just a little bit of inspiration.
Kind of like I told her, I saw this phrase years ago, and it's kind of been my mantra. And I've went through some issues with the PTSD and different things, and that's one thing we use the paranormal investigating doing. It's kind of like a therapy to me. You can put me in the basement of St. Albans with nothing but a flashlight and a piece of equipment, and I'm happy. I'm just, darkness is my friend. But this phrase was, I'll eat a bowl of water with a fork, for I give 2 damns about what you think about me.
Yeah,
and that's
I like
the
it.
way anymore. It's I'm not going to say that's the way you need to live your life, but you need to kind of keep that in the back of your mind that if you don't like my opinion, tough shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up in what I believe in.
Yeah, if you don't trust me, if you don't trust my word,
Right.
if you're willing to lie to me, and I don't got time for it.
Right.
I don't. I've got so much good going in my life right now. I'm not 20 years old anymore, throwing things against the wall, hoping something will stick. I know what I want. I know where I want to go. I know who I want to be, and I know who I want to do that with. And if you want to, march into my life, and hey, we'll make a run of it. But there's only one chance.
It's been times I second guessed my gut, and it's led me wrong.
Yeah.
I give some people second chances or third chances.
When you know
And
you
it's all
shouldn't,
it's just, and
yeah.
that's a definition of insanity.
But at the same time, that also shows that you're a person that's willing and trying your absolute best to make things right. And eventually you'll break away from that, and eventually you'll find yourself in a positive frame of mind, because you'll be able to look back and you'll understand your mistakes. We all made them.
That's right.
Can I just say this has gone deep? I like it.
It absolutely has. And hey, folks, just wanted to take a quick second to talk about one of our sponsors for today, Foster's General Store. It's growing season in Virginia year-round now, so go check out Foster's for all of your growing needs. They have Fox Farm Soil and Nutrients, Humboldt Secret Supplies, Gaia Green, Dr. Earth Dry Amendments, as well as Coast of Maine products, Grove Bags, Fish Shit, and all your hydro tents and lights that you're going to need. You're supporting local. I've known these guys forever. They're phenomenal human beings. So go down there and see Charlie and Hunter and tell them you heard it from the Appalachian Podcast. You can catch them at 17175 Virgil H. Good Highway in Rocky Mount, or give them a shout at 540-489-0085. All right, so, you say this has been kind of a deep conversation, and it has. This has been one of those deals where if you're listening to it or you're talking about it, you really can just take a step back in your own life, kind of think about what's going on and what's going on around you, and the positive, negative energy that we were talking about. But I kind of want to get to the cool stuff with y'all again too. Like, so, you go in there and you set up everything like we are talking about earlier, and you get your readings and kind of things. Tell us some of those hair-raising moments y'all have had. Like, maybe have y'all, you mentioned seeing, the ones at Gettysburg, but here, while y'all have been investigating, have you seen things? Have you seen apparitions? Have you had moments where your hair stood up on the back of your neck?
Yeah, it was kind of strange. We went to St. Albans.
Now, St. Albans, for anybody that doesn't know, is that the one in Chilhowie?
That's in Radford, Virginia.
Radford, okay, yeah, Radford.
Yeah,
and you got Catawba up there, and then what's the one in Marion? It's that's a crazy house too. But St. Albans is St. Tara's gonna like this because I think she used to do some dealings with St. Albans or something. Right across the river there, right?
Across the river,
Yep.
right on the other side.
Where we used to live, Scoot.
Yeah,
That river?
Right on down from the river on the other side of it. You cross the bridge over into Fairlawn to go get our food and stuff. The St. Albans is right up here on top of the hill. Back in the
That's here.
Well, we went up there to do a public investigation, and we paid our $25 like everybody else. We wanted to go see the place, so we go up there, and of course we got our shirts on with our logo on it. And out of nowhere, the subjects that we were speaking of earlier, they end up showing up later on. The two sisters.
Oh, okay.
And but the lady who runs the place, great people up there. I can't say enough about them. They asked us, "Hey, we're kind of short-handed. Can you lead some groups?" Well, I'm like, well, first of all, we don't know a damn thing about this place. We know the stories we've heard, but I can't take somebody to this room and say whatever and tell a story about it. So we ended up wandering around. I came back and got our equipment. Got chased by something down the connection hall between the two buildings. I don't know what. But, I get back down to her. I got sweat dripping off my forehead. I'm pale as a ghost. And she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. Something just chased me the hell through this building. I don't know what it is."
Now, it was abandoned at the time still?
Yeah, it was still abandoned.
Yeah, okay.
But I was the only one going through the connection hall, and there was two sets of footsteps. Mine and somebody else's. Nobody was behind me. We went down and we went to one of the classrooms. We had a textbook question and answer session with a flashlight with somebody in that classroom. We went to the hyperbaric chamber. We went downstairs to the dragon room, and then that's when stuff kind of changed. We're down there wandering around. We got probably 30 people down there with us, wandering around. They're saying, "Oh yeah, the spirit down here likes Johnny Cash," and people's playing Johnny Cash songs on their phones. And people are taking pictures, asking questions, talking, laughing, just typical public investigation thing. Out of nowhere, Kelly looks and taps me on the shoulder, and I said, "What?" She said, "Get me the F out of here." And I looked over. It's like something was picking her hair up and dropping it. Just her hair would come up and fall back down. And she was shaking, and I said, "Okay, apparently something here knows what you are. So let's get you the hell out of here." So finding your way out of that place is like a maze. It's truly is way bigger than you think.
And this is a former mental hospital. For anybody that doesn't know, you could probably find a lot of stuff online about this place when it comes to this paranormal stuff.
So we ended up getting out, and it probably wasn't 5 minutes after I got her outside, she was back to her normal self. Got touched. Something actually tugged on. Excuse me, I'm hitting the microphone here.
It's fine. You've had quite a bit to drink tonight. So.
It's an Appalachian podcast.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
If that's the worst thing that happened tonight, I think we're doing okay.
No, if I start spitting into the microphone, then you'll know.
It doesn't matter.
But no, it's I had told whatever was messing with her. I said, "You're not allowed to touch my damn wife. Stop." And something grabbed my hat and tugged my hat down over my face. We're the only
right
two people,
then?
Yeah, we're the only two damn people standing there. And then that's when, at the point in time, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to mess with these places no more. So,
and I will say, when we come out, we were heading to the car because I had gotten sick. I was so sick. By the time we got to the car, I stopped and I told him, I said, "We've got a hitchhiker, Something was attached and trying to follow us out."
Yep.
And I said, "No."
So while you were running, it caught you.
Yeah, it just basically just followed us out.
Yeah.
And, Kelly basically like, look, you got to stay. She was very assertive. You got to stay. You cannot go with us. You're not allowed to go with us. Just go back home. And then, she was ashy gray. She was sweating. She was sick. It wasn't just seconds. She was back to her old self after that. So that's the point where I'm like, this is going way deeper than I thought it ever could. Yeah, you grow up watching the shows and you're like, okay, well, could that happen? Yeah, it can happen. And so it's
And the other weird thing that happened at the same time that all of that was going on.
Oh, the Facebook post.
Yeah, we had a friend who, she was trying to get in touch with us. So she had not only called my phone, she had texted my phone, she had sent a Facebook Messenger message and posted on our page, hoping that I would see something.
And when you're down the bottom of that place, you're in like the bowels of hell.
Yeah,
No
got no
cell
service at all.
no nothing.
So I wasn't getting anything. But when we came up and we were getting in the car, I noticed that I had, all these missed things. And so I'm looking at them, and what she said was, "Be careful, I just heard your name."
Oh, wow.
And she was sitting at home with her child watching a show on TV.
Where she live at? Back in Bedford?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah,
I hate to kind of break this up right quick, but big congratulations to big money Matt Hirschman who just won.
Yes.
Yeah, take a moment to shout out the Smart Modified Tour. They do an awful lot for this show, and I can't appreciate Chris Williams enough. So yes, me and Scott, we do usually sit in here every single Saturday night, and we watch whatever modified races on TV. And I'm glad the Smart Mods are back. And
maybe you can hook a brother up with meeting Chris Williams. So.
Well, October 1st weekend, if you're going to be around Motor Mile, we're going to be up there. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to try to do a few shows, and from what I gather, we got some phenomenal guests lined up from a couple people I've talked to. So, stay tuned for that. But yeah, make sure you make your way up to Motor Mile for that race. It was a blast last year. It really sent this show into another direction as far as I'm concerned. Like, it really propelled us. It got us a whole lot, a whole slew of new listeners, and it gave us a lot of confidence. When you are just a bunch of slackjaw hillbillies who started a show 5 months ago, and you're sitting in front of NASCAR Hall of Famer and former Wins Cup champion Bobby Labonte, you get a little bit of swagger. And not to mention Hermie Sadler, who everybody in Virginia knows. He's one of our favorite sons. And Burt Myers, who's a freaking Bowman Gray legend. And, second generation and part of a third generation of awesome drivers. So, yeah. Come on up there and you can meet Chris Williams. You come up there weekend. We're planning on camping the whole weekend.
We'll do that.
So no ghost hunting that weekend. Or if you want to,
I want to stay there for a while. Find something, I'm going to have to leave.
That's really not far from St. Albans either. So if you want to make a quick trip into there, take Scott into Scott Albans. I take Scott into St. Albans. I will take a video camera and follow him in right behind him. But I don't know, maybe as
energy, Billy.
as you joke about that kind of stuff, but you really don't want to, test fate like that, I guess. And that kind of leads me into my next question. I know we've always heard things throughout the years about, demonic possessions, and I think, that's probably a true thing. I think some people might, but are there also things that might be not be demonic, kind of what y'all experienced, but the negative energy still, like you said, attaches to you? And I mean, how far could that go? I mean, how far could they stay attached to you?
All the way to our house.
Yeah, they can stay attached even after that. I mean, it just, if somebody does not know, how to shield from that kind of thing, or how to repel that kind of thing, then it can actually stay permanently attached to someone.
And we'll take it back to one other thing, and I was going to bring this up earlier. The one thing to remember is not everything is paranormal. And if it is paranormal, not everything is demonic. You'd be surprised how many times we've had calls of people saying you had something demonic. It's
really not.
It's very slim to none chance that you have something demonic going on. Now, are there cases? Yeah, you go back and watch a lot of the tapes of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They dealt with some nasty stuff we wouldn't even consider taking on.
I don't know. Like,
she's about to drag you to hell and back.
She's dragging me to hell. Yeah. Say, how long have we been married? No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's seriously. I mean, it's that's where the whole disprove part comes in. You got to try to make people understand that not everything is paranormal.
Well, I think it's kind of ironic that y'all talk. You talk about something as simple as speaking back and say no. You can't do something like this, and it's weird because 10 or 12 years ago when I was living in a house down in Snow Creek, I swore the place was haunted because I would hear just random things going on in the kitchen right there when I was in the living room. And even in other places. And every time I just be like, shut up. We ain't trying to listen to this stuff right now. And people around me be like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I hear something in there. And if it is a spirit or something, I ain't trying to hear this shit right now. I ain't trying to hear you knocking around in my kitchen. I'm trying to go to sleep. You're cool to be here. Yeah. I don't care. But, stop making noise. So and I would talk to them like that. And I have no experience in this kind of thing. I have no idea. I was just saying it just because that's what I felt like saying. And it's funny to hear y'all say that something as simple as that, can make a difference.
So you just have to show you're not scared of it?
That's the biggest thing.
You have to just make sure that they understand.
Or make peace with it.
You are taking control of your space. That is your space. That might have been their space at another time.
Yeah.
But now that's your space. And like you said, if they're going to play by the rules, then it's fine for them to stay, and if you're comfortable with that. But if they're not, then they need to go.
You just tell them, get the hell out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you'd be surprised at people that move into a house and say they're the second owners, and they start do some type of renovations. Well, then all of a sudden you got all kind of crazy stuff happening. You're on a ladder, the ladder shakes, or light bulbs are blowing. And they're calling in electricians, and that's a lot of stuff we do too. I mean, we get in certain situations where there's a lot of electrical activity inside the house. We'll call electrical people that we know that will come in and check things. Appliance people that come check appliances.
So you go in depth.
Yeah, we get people. We got people we can call for rodent issues. They'll go up in the attic and basements and look for rodents. You got to be able to get that. You got to narrow it down as far as you can to get it microscopic before then you can say, okay, this is something paranormal. We got to take this another route.
And then there's situations where even after doing all those things, you can't with 100% certainty still say that yes, it's a haunting. A prime example is, a case that we had where the REM pod. So the REM pod is one of the devices that we use.
All right. So just to map it out for people who listen and can't see it, the REM pod, okay, it looks like two hockey pucks stacked on top of each other with a red topping and an antenna and little bulbs sticking out of it. I'll go ahead and take a picture of it. So if you're, want to go back and listen to it, you can see what we're talking about.
It's a proximity sensor. Mm-hmm. And what it does, it'll pick up any type of static electricity or EMF around.
Temperature change and that kind of thing. And we had one situation where we've got it sitting in a specific place, but as Dawn said at that time, we have two doors open on either side, and I don't know that it's because there was airflow coming through.
But the temperature sensor kept going off.
The temperature sensor kept going off. Well, but then there were also times when we would ask, are you, is that you? Are you standing around that? Can you back away from it and make it stop? And it would stop. But at the same time, there wasn't enough conclusive evidence, in my opinion, for us to say that, yes, that was because there was literally energy around it.
Normally we try to use two forms of justification. Mm-hmm. So if I would have had the REM pod going off and I'd have had to flare out looking at the piece of equipment and there was a mass that was showing up colder or hotter, that would be considered two forms of justification. You just don't go by one piece of equipment.
And when both of them goes off, do you know for sure, or
that's we can say we know for sure, but we just say it's a good indication.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's super important to say, because I think at the end of the day, it's like we can't explain everything. And me personally, I believe in a spiritual realm. I believe that You know, some spirits are ripped out of their bodies so fast that they don't know. And I hate to use that's kind of how it was in Ghost. I hate to use a Hollywood reference, but I mean, it makes perfect sense. You know, if you're ripped out of your body unexpectedly and really quick, then you might think you have things left to do. Or if you're a bad spirit or whatever, you might stick around. That energy might stick around. But even if I'm wrong, and even if that's not the case, at the very least, you know, I think that there are other waves and energy waves and things like that, you know, that your equipment picks up on, and things that our eyes and our ears and our minds can't comprehend. And we're on a whole lot different levels of things that we can't comprehend or explain. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, the good Lord's intentions and, you know, the layers that he's built for us. But either way you look at it, there are so many things that are unexplainable, and, you know, who knows? You know, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Is there a lot of things that just you can't write off as coincidence?
Exactly.
Yeah, like I said, it's like an onion. There's so many layers to it. You got to just pick it apart as far as you can to get to the core of it. And you know, if this was something if we hadn't by now gotten as much evidence and the pictures and the audio and the stuff that we've been able to disprove and prove, we still wouldn't be doing this stuff almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
Was you believers before you started?
I was skeptical.
I was 100% a believer, and I'm going to tell you.
Look at Scoot coming down with the good questions. I mean, this dude was born to be a co-host.
Just play with
Where was he? Where were you at for Hermie and Bill Stanley? And where were you at for the?
Two politicians. I couldn't get a word.
Where were you at for the midwife episode? Actually, he was taking care of our little ones for that one.
I wasn't. I started.
He started off.
Okay, can I just stop for a second? I got to back up for a minute. We got to talk about the brothers in NASCAR. Why does Hermie and Elliot talk different as much as Jeff and Ward?
It's that Virginia thing.
It must be.
I mean,
What did Ward say? I was born from the south end of the house. Yeah, apparently Hermie and Elliot sound nothing alike. So.
that Ward is somebody I would love to get on this show, and it has absolutely nothing to do with racing. Yeah. Nothing. Like, I might ask him a couple of questions about it if it came to mind, but Ward is one of those guys I would love to get on here and talk about anything other than racing. Like, he is one of those people.
Get him to say cats get steer over. That's all that's all
I mean, if you've ever heard his stories and stuff, I mean, Ward Burton, there for a couple of years, just lived out in the woods and trapped what he ate, caught what he ate, and just lived off the land. And, you know, back then, for whatever reason, you know, even down in Halifax County in the wintertime, it never got above 30 degrees. I mean, it was super cold, and same thing from around here. And that's not an endorsement of global warming or climate change. I just think that's just, you know, we go in waves and circles just like we do everything else. And I don't believe you can tax us into a clean environment for anybody out there that thinks you can. So, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, Ward, that's a bad dude.
Yeah, lived in a tobacco bar.
And then, like you said, Hermie and Elliot, Hermie's got he's more kind of high up pitched or whatever. And Elliot, man, he just sounds like me, like he's from freaking deep South Alabama.
Now, just in case Hermie's listening to this later on.
He better be listening to it.
I have nothing but love for my Virginia drivers. So, you know.
Oh, I do too.
I'm an old driver, and I have love for nothing but my Virginia drivers.
I don't know if you can see him back there. I got some Hermie cards and stuff and autographs and stuff we got like 20 years ago going and chasing him around. And that's another part of this. It's so awesome to sit there and have conversations. And like I said earlier, you know, Matt Dillner says that the Paul Rafford episode is one of the best shows, if not the best show he's heard all year. I take that as a huge compliment. I also take it as a compliment, you know, when Hermie and Bill, if you go back and listen to our recent show with them, you know, they said we were their inspiration to start a podcast. Now for me, you know, Bill, God, I love him. I do. I love Bill Stanley. He is my kind of guy because he is such a smooth talker. You know, he told me, he said, man, y'all inspired me. Y'all inspired us to kind of do this show. And I said, Bill, I figure the conversation between you and Hermie was something like, well, God bless, if these mouth breathing slack jaws can do it, I think we can do it too. What the hell are we doing? I mean, look at these guys. I mean, but no, they've been so good to us, and I can't, you know, thank them enough. Can't wait to hang out with them again in a couple of weeks at Motor Mile. But
thank you for your hospitality down at North
yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, they, you know, and for people, you know, I know, and God, we're getting off topic again from the ghost stuff. That's kind of what we do around here. But, you know, I'm not a big politician guy. I think most of them are sleazy as all get out. And and Bill Stanley is a smooth son of a gun, but I will say this, that every time we've been around him, every time we've went to a race or whatever, he's offered up food. He's, he does it for everybody. He is a genuine person who really wants everybody in his presence to have a good time and have fun. That's what he really wants. Every time we've been in a race, that's been his mentality. He really is a good, genuine person, and I like what he's all about. So
October 1st, I'm putting it in my calendar.
put it in your calendar. We're going up there and camping all weekend long, and we're going to have a blast.
October 1st, well, September 1st, me and this thing right here beside me, we go into Halloween mode already. You saw the shirt I wore. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. October 1st automatically just sets it off, like 4th of July fireworks. She's ready to hit the festivals, hit the haunted houses.
I've got every weekend planned out. There is something going on every weekend.
Except for October the 1st.
Except for October the 1st.
I'm glad Billy got y'all booked before October.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. People really should look back at history, and I mean deep history, not just American history. I'm talking about worldwide history, and a lot of the holidays we have, and even as far as Christmas and Thanksgiving, a lot of these things, maybe not Thanksgiving, but I know Christmas and Halloween, they do date back to pagan holidays, and Halloween has kind of been around for an awful long time. Is there, because of those reasons, and I don't know if it matters from the stars or the moon or any of that, but is there more activity that you get around times like that, or is that just...
So I'm going to say, talking about, the pagan holidays, so Halloween was actually called Samhain back in the day, in the pagan world. And, it is said that on Halloween that the veil has thinned. It's the thinnest that it ever was for the two worlds to be able to cross and collide and intersect. And so, yeah, I think as it gets closer, I do think that, the activity does pick up. I think that the happenings are definitely more active at those times. So I do think that has something to do with it.
Now, do you think that is, and of course these are all opinions here because we really have no earthly idea, but I'm just interested what everybody thinks about these kind of things. Do you think that has something to do with, maybe external forces and how the universe has rotated over time? Or do you think it's more of a manifestation from humans because we know that time of the year is set aside for, those matters that some would consider dark, but
I think it's just from the personal energy.
I think it's a human manifestation.
Everybody knows that's that time of year, and just they radiate that energy, and that energy is what brings forth. They just invite stuff in. We've done a lot with some historical locations. We've done a lot with the Avenel House in Bedford, where we're from. We've done a lot with the Exchange Hotel in Gordonsville, Virginia, and you could go down there any other time and have slightly, off, how can I say, off season, have a little bit of activity. But when we did National Ghost Hunt Day in 2007, we were one of 100 groups around the globe that got a chance to do this. We did the Avenel, and I mean, that was absolutely the most activity, just off the chain.
More than St. Albans?
Oh, way more.
And where is this at?
This is in Bedford, right in the city of Bedford.
And what is it?
It's called the Avenel House. It was
Hold on. Is that the place that they filmed What About Bob? No, that's the Elk Lodge. That's Elk Home. Okay, never mind. So where's this place at in Bedford?
It's just, matter of fact, the land that the Elks Home sit on used to be part of this plantation.
Okay.
At least that's what we were told. But it's just right over the hill from the Elks Home. Back towards you. If you're familiar with the Bedford Fire Department's it's right up that side street from the Bedford Fire Department on that. And actually,
so real close to the railroad tracks right there too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I've delivered to the Bedford Fire Department before.
Okay, yeah. You can sit in Bedford Fire Department's lot
and look up
and look up and see it.
Yeah,
wow.
you can look up and see it.
And we got married there, and we had a lot of activity during the day. We were there just hanging out, chilling out, and just trying to get things organized. So, and when anybody ever wanted to go experience what we do, we would take them to the Avenue because that was kind of considered our safe house. And
when we say safe house, because there's nothing bad there, there's nothing negative there, and we never had to worry about if anything was going to be attached to somebody,
right.
or, you know, if somebody came in and they had depression and that kind of thing, that would be a place that would be fine for somebody like that to go into.
But some of the places in Bedford, I mean, there are so many big, beautiful, you know, federal style homes, Greek revival style homes that were around in the early mid 1800s that just they have this energy trapped in them. I'm not gonna call the name of the place, but we got the opportunity to do another big plantation house in Bedford. Actually, it was involved in an estate sale. The attorney who was handling this called us and had us come out and doing a private investigation there, because one of the people that worked there, taking inventory or whatever, had claimed she had seen something. We were the very first
and only
group excuse me, that ever got the chance to go in this place. Magnificent, beautiful home. And sure enough, we come out of the evidence of a voice and of pictures, so we verified it. Needless to say, we put it on our Facebook page, and quickly the attorney had us pull it down because he thought it would hinder the sale of the place. But it's just same with there that it is at Avenel. All that's left there is family members. It's just people there that's lived there. So, you know, it's not like it's a portal to hell or anything like that. It's just the residents there decided to stick around because that was their pride and joy back in the day.
Well, now, God Almighty, every time we start on something, I start having just more and more thoughts about places I want to go to. Before we get to the portal of hell, because that's one question I wanted to ask as well. But being as y'all are from Bedford County, and we all know that Bedford County is the home of the most baddest Appalachian MFers on the planet, the Bedford boys, who all went to, World War II, and they were pretty much one of the first ones off the beach. Now, granted, that was thousands of miles away, but being y'all are from Bedford and there's such a rich history there, have y'all ever encountered anything from those World War II soldiers, from any clients or anybody has ever had any instances with anything regarding those guys,
I can't say anything with
nothing,
those
nothing
guys.
I can say with those guys. And we're going right back to the whole point of, like the cemetery thing. If they died in Normandy, their spirits are running Normandy. That's the way I
really
look at it. But yeah, give a shout out to Bedford, our hometown, D-Day Memorial. If you haven't been there, go there. It is absolutely astounding what they've done with that place.
Do y'all want to share your Facebook page too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our Facebook page is just look up Beyond the Dark Paranormal. We also have a website. We don't do a lot with the website anymore. We mainly just stay on the social media side of it, but it's beyondthedarkparanormal.com. We have contacts there. If you feel like you got something going on, or if there's something you are worried about with your home, reach out to us. We'll be glad to come out and talk to you and.
But is it out of the realm of possibility that there might be any kind of activity from those World War II soldiers at some point in time? I mean, is something like that possible? And only from the manifestation of memories, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe somebody went over there and they had, children they needed to come back to. Of course, that's how it was.
Yeah, I was
and
going to say, that, if they're home,
and maybe we just haven't reached it yet.
Yeah, they definitely, I think, that's not out of the realm of possibility that they could not come back home, because that's where their best memories were, and where, their family is, and where their happy times were. So,
And where their legacy resides.
Exactly.
You know what? Bedford has a legacy.
Yes.
It really does. And okay, so let's get a little bit creepier. When you mentioned the portal to hell, I know you were doing that in jest, but I mean, is that something, and this is going way deeper than just paranormal stuff. I think this is almost going demonic and things like that. But, are there people out there, or are there situations? I mean, do y'all think that there are possibilities for portals like that if the right people say the right things or have the right energy or anything like that. Like, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I believe there's a lot of demonic forces.
I'm going to tell you, we had a case in Lynchburg, and it was another private residence. And this lady it was, again, an old home. I went down there. We had been down there a couple different times, several different times.
About 3 to 4 times we went down there.
Yeah, because, she just, it was like one thing would get cleared, but then it's almost like another thing would happen. And I'm sitting there going, how is this possible that, we can clear it, but then something else comes back in? So I think he was working one day, and she was off from work, and I was off from work. And so I told her, I said, let me grab some of my stuff. I said, I'm going to come down and hang out with you, and let's see if we can't figure some of this out. I ended up closing 6 portals in her house that day.
So explain closing portals.
So I use a divination tool. So I like to work with crystals. So I have a crystal that's on kind of a chain, and the way that I do it, and this is not something that I would ever say that anybody should follow, because you really need to know what you're doing before you start messing with these kinds of things. But
yeah, don't tempt the devil unless you're ready to dance.
Exactly.
Unless you're ready to dance.
Right. But using that and some other means, I was able to go in, and that actually will find where that portal is. It's a really interesting phenomena, and it's because as you're holding the divination tool, it will start spinning all by itself counterclockwise to let you know that something is going on there.
Scott's just shaking his hand like, nope, out.
So I would go where I would feel drawn, and where I would feel drawn is where I would use that tool, and that's how I would discover that there was something there. So I spent the better part of the day with her, closing those portals and cleansing her home. And so yes, I fully believe that there are portals. I fully believe that they can lead to very, very bad things.
And people can summons bad things.
People can summons bad things. And it's a lot of the people that just don't really know what they're doing. That's the majority of it. There are those out there that know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, they're called the government.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
We got a big deal going on right now.
They are definitely summoning some negative stuff.
Yes. But, so yeah, I think that, a lot of times there's people that like to play with Ouija boards, for example. And I'm not condemning Ouija boards at all.
Hey, just real quick.
No, I don't like to play with them.
Because I was talking to Scott about this before y'all showed up. And I told him just messing around. I said, because he was a little, Scott was a little nervous about it. He's like, man, I don't know, how this is going to go or anything. I said, well, they told me they were bringing their Ouija board too. So he's like, man, I did that one time and I swear they were moving it. Is there no legitimacy to that though? I mean,
Is that why he wouldn't make eye contact with you?
I think so.
No.
I think so.
Oh, gosh. It's
But-
I don't know what they got in those cases.
But Ouija boards are...
Ouija boards, if they are, so, they're sold as a children's toy.
Yeah, you can buy them in freaking Walmart next to Monopoly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
But when you watch the movies, it's all real.
It takes that person with that power, with that talent, that knows how to open it, close it. And for somebody who just wants to play with it, and
You're playing mind games, basically,
Yeah.
with your friends, is one thing.
but somebody who's got that power,
To open and close.
it's
But
dangerous.
here's the thing: there are times it's another tool. It's a Ouija board is another tool, and that person, it's their intentions that are set behind using that. So if they go into it and they are just determined that they're going to contact somebody or something,
They're going to manifest
you
it.
better believe they're going to contact somebody.
So
or
there's a
something.
chance that somebody was trying to contact the three of us. But there's also a chance that them other two people was moving that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of folks who I think have inadvertently opened Pandora's box by doing that. And they've never closed it, and because of that, it leaves this door that's just wide open for whatever to come through it. So
and that's where a lot of people, when you tell people, we have we got tattoos with our logo on us, and people, I got the ghost on my wrist. People are like, well, what's that for? Me and ghost awareness. But you got people that are like, you get two different reactions when you tell people, well, what are you doing? I'm a paranormal investigator. You get the, really, that's cool, or
you're nuts.
Oh, okay.
I was at okay.
So, for the people that we don't play Ouija boards. That's not what we do.
And likewise, we don't condemn the people that want to. That's a choice. Everything that we are talking about is just our opinion on things. It's our experience that we've had and the years of research that we've put into it so far that have brought us to the conclusions that we have today from this.
Yeah, we're not summoning we're not summoning devils, but we're also not like the Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God.
Right. Exactly. So.
But it's nice to put somebody's, like I said, we're going to go back to the very beginning of it. It's to give people a peace of mind.
Yeah, you put people at ease
right.
when that happens.
Right.
If they got questions.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, regardless of what it is at the end of the day, you just better be careful about, whatever energy you're bringing in or putting out or whatever you're allowing into your life. I'm a personal believer that at the end of the day, good will always trump evil. And it's as simple as mind over matter. You allow what comes into your soul, and who knows, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there are forces that are so strong that you can't overtake them, and maybe you need other people to come in and help you. But that's also just another sign of humanity and how we need to stick together. But I think that it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's good and evil, and you can manifest things, and all these energies collide, and we don't really have a clue. But the things you all are doing, you're like Scott said, you're giving people closure either way. And I think that's an important thing. And I think it's also super cool that y'all don't charge anybody a damn dime to go do it. I've been trying to get Don here on the show for weeks now, and we got this going on this week, and I was like, they must be raking it in, going to all these places and stuff. And my ultimate hope is that, after you all coming on this show, that maybe people will listen to it and be like, well, maybe I want their services. And although that you offer them for free, that maybe somebody will say, well, hey, put me to the front of the list. Here's $3,000. Here's $5,000. Here's something that I really want that peace of mind, and that peace of mind might have a price tag on it. And y'all can take that money and reinvest it into your own lives, into your own communities, and rising tide raise all ships. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I tell my buddies all the time. I say, let me shout out your business on here. Let me do man, I got so much work now. I can't even deal with it right now. I said, I know that. And regardless if I say your name or not, or for the next 3 years, you're always going to have more work than you can handle. But if I talk about you enough and people trust in what I say and people take me for my word, then they're going to realize you are worth, your juice is worth a squeeze, and maybe your price tag goes up, not to anything that you did, but it's because other people come in and say, hey, I'm going to outbid this next guy just to put me at the front of the list. That's a small, simple things, that we can handle here, and, we can help you all with. And I love conversations like this. And I think, honestly, bringing y'all in here tonight, whether we talked about ghosts or racing or anything, we could have had hundreds of conversations because y'all are those kind of people.
Oh, we can, the sun comes up.
Oh, and I'm afraid about that. I was like, my wife might come up here at 5 o'clock in the morning and be like, you still recording? It's been 7.5 hours. I'm like, well, baby, we're going to break this down into 4 shows. You know what I mean? But, but before we get out of here, like, there is I want to know for cultural reasons, let's talk about some of the fun stuff like that. Like, what is the movie? 3 Men and a Baby, the original one. They said there was an apparition right there in the movie, and if you still frame it, you can see it. Do y'all believe that something like that is possible, or do y'all think that is real, or do you think it's
It's definitely plausible.
that they can? I mean, that was a very, very obvious aberration. I mean, there was a little girl in the window in that scene, and they couldn't explain it. And over the years, you know, it's not come out that it's been trick photography or anything like that, and you think something would, but do y'all know what I'm talking about with that scene? Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about, Scoot?
No.
So
I've seen Three Men and a Baby, but I don't know what you're...
it's the original one, not yeah, and I guess I don't know what scene it was, but some scene in there in the apartment, and you still frame it right there. There's an apparition. There's a little girl just right there.
I can watch it.
I mean, it's right there. A little girl right there. And I mean, stuff like that can happen.
It can happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, places, whether it's, you know, Hollywood and they're filming a movie, or, you know, it's right here in Franklin County, and we're, you know, at a private residence. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's day or night. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is or where it's at. It can happen anywhere. It can be caught anywhere. And that's the neat thing about, you know, what we do, is that it's the things that are not looked for, that you stumble on, that's, you know, purely by accident that it was even caught. That's usually like the creme de la creme of what we do.
Right.
So those little nuggets of treasures that we pull out of
it's
different areas.
I got probably one, and I'll play it for you. I got probably one of the clearest EVPs on my phone that we have ever recorded, ever. And it's kind of funny. I helped her set up for a home interior party at one of the places we normally investigate. It was another girl that was, you know, paranormal investigators. I went upstairs, took some equipment, and just said, "Hey, look, I'm not going to be down here looking at pictures and statues. I'll just go upstairs and do what I got to do." So I went upstairs to play around. Nothing was happening. I was going through, listening to some of my old recordings, and this thing it just came through so clear. I come down like 5 flights of stairs.
Yes.
I kind of look like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation when the squirrel's on his back.
Yeah.
And his heels hitting them. I came down all 5 flights of stairs, and I busted into their party, and I'm like, "You've got to hear this." That right there was kind of like that beacon of light of, all right, I knew who was there at night. This is not our voices. The question we had asked, this thing responded, you know, and not to try to sound like I was doubting it, but I'm like, okay, this shit's real. You know, that there's no way this would have came through any other way. And it's just the clearest. You just hear this female voice just whisper, "Come to the attic," and it's just.
I just saw his hair rise up on the back of his neck
The hair
again.
on the arm.
Here.
You know, and I'm going to say that,
Do you see that?
Is that Three Men and a Baby?
Yeah, look in the bathroom in the corner. That's
Not
never
supposed to be there?
that's never been explained.
In a shower curtain?
Yeah.
Curtains?
Do you see that?
Yes.
The boy? Yeah, that's not supposed to be there. Yeah, it's things like that. I mean, it's just.
Y'all have street lights outside, right? You might help walk into his truck a little bit. You might go walk us to our truck.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I pulled in a driveway, and I usually back out slow. I'm like, dude.
You can't escape it, Scoot. You can't.
Yeah,
They're going to follow you anywhere you go. Now we're good here. I think whatever might be in this house is cool. All they do is bang around and make noises and stuff and walk around.
I thought was paranormal. I think it's cool with me too.
There's a lot of things it could be.
I think.
You know, we've been to houses before where people's like, well, you know, we hear this and this is happening, and we're like, all right, well, is it affecting you personally? Well, no, but my 3-year-old is sitting in the floor looking up, talking to somebody. Well, that tells us right there it's not malicious. It's probably somebody that lived in the house. Just explain to them that, hey, we just want to cohabitate and just be friends. This is your house. We want to be our house. We got changes we'd like to make if it's okay with you. And, you know,
It's kind of like Beetlejuice.
yeah, kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. They moved into the house afterwards. Like, we just want to cohabitate and
Yeah.
that's it.
not turn this into a artsy little New York studio. You know, when Otho got picked up and dropped on his head.
Exactly.
But it's wild, you know what I mean? Like kids and pets, I guess, can sense that stuff more than anybody else. I mean, that's something you should pay attention to, really. Like maybe if your kid, you know, is looking up and talking to something, maybe it's not just their imagination. They see something that you can't see. And I've heard, you know, and what is it? I don't know if it was a monk or somebody said, you know, that children know all the secrets to the universe until they're 4 years old and they just forget them. You know what I mean? They know all the secrets, and that's something that you should, I mean, because the things are going on in the kid's mind, we can't even comprehend. They can talk science all day long and doctors and this and this. They can't pinpoint this stuff. They can't figure it out. They think they can. They think they got an idea, but what's going through a kid's mind and its imagination or what it's seeing, you know, I think kids are seeing things, like I said, pets too. I think they're seeing things that we can't see. They're on a whole different plane and a whole different level. And we just dismiss it as them having crazy, wild imaginations. But I think, yeah, but I think they're seeing, you know, there's a possibility a lot of times they're seeing things that we just as adults can't comprehend. Like our mind hasn't allowed us because we're so entrenched in reality.
Exactly.
Or what we perceive as reality, that we perceive as reality.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, every time we do an investigation and we have a flashlight session is when we will, you know, use the flashlight to communicate with something that's there, and it'll be, you know, on for yes and off for no. And every time we have one, it's like the very first time we had one, you know, it blows your mind every time. It's just like, oh my gosh, you know, there's really something manipulating that right now, and we're all the way across the room, so no, it's not us.
Yeah, I mean,
damn, Scoot, you just scared the hell out of everybody in this room, man. We're lucky. We're lucky we weren't talking about something deep like we were earlier. You know what I mean?
But no, she's right. I mean, you get that, you know, when you say, you know, can you cut that flashlight on? Or if you see us, can you cut the flashlight on? You know, and that flashlight comes on, I mean, the hair on your arm stands up, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and it's just that rush of, all right, I'm communicating with something I shouldn't be talking to. Something I can't see, something I can't comprehend. I can't see this person. I can't tell what this person looks like.
Exactly. And I think that that's probably a lot of the driving force behind what we do, too. It's just that curiosity and the why.
Oh, it's a drug.
Yeah.
It's just,
why are you here? It's all the questions that are unanswered. You know, what can we do to help you? What can we do to help the family that's there? You know, why are you just stuck here?
Y'all are there to help people. I mean, not to scare them. You're there to help them.
Exactly.
Well, there's also things that like when you talk about what's in your head and stuff, I think there's chemical imbalances. And I spoke about DMT earlier as a drug to try and like reach that universe. And that was kind of half, you know, joking. Yeah. But, you know, I think there's also different chemicals in people's brains. And, you know, DMT actually is a natural occurring substance. That's one of the reasons why children have the imagination they do, because DMT is taking them to other levels. And the older you get, the less it gets in your brain. And also, when you die, they say DMT is just rushed into your brain. That's why you see the light. That's why you start seeing things that you wouldn't otherwise see. And that's why they talk about deathbeds and things, because DMT is rushing in your brain and it's taking you to a spiritual level that you can't quite comprehend. You know, things like that. I mean, just as simple as the unknown brings up so many questions, and it's such a fun topic. I love.
You know, of all the years I did fire and EMS in Bedford County, I actually got the chance to speak to one person, and we'll walk through. We'll be like in Walmart, or we'll be somewhere. Not a shameless plug at all, but we'll be somewhere, and I'll see somebody, and I'm like, "Yep, I worked that person." Or, "Yep, yeah." But I've never come straight out. And if you're a true volunteer, like I've been for the last years, you don't go out looking for that thank you. You just kind of pass that person and go, they're here because we did our job.
Yeah.
And so I was working at a shop. Customer came in. I remember the call like it was yesterday. And I went ahead and approached him about it. I said, you don't remember me that day. And once I told him about what happened, how everything went down, man broke into tears, grabbed me, hugged me. He says, because of you, I'm here. But I said, I'm not looking for that. I just want to know, what did you experience? Because that was that side of me that goes, okay, I've heard about seeing a white light. You know, I just want to know. And the stuff he told me put me in tears. You know, because I was like, there's no way you can think up the stuff he told me. Even to the point when, you know, we was hitting him with the defibrillator, his eyes would open up just long enough and fade out. He would see us just for a split second, and it would fade out like a light bulb. Just stuff like that would just get on. And I got home that night and I thought about it, and it was enough. The more I thought about it, I mean, I almost wanted to break down and cry, because I'm like, that's deep. You know, when that man can sit there and tell you about his near-death experience, and like you said with the DMT, is that what was the driving force that was giving him just enough vision to see us trying to save his life? But it's or
almost that maybe you do die. Maybe you die for that 2 or 3 seconds, and you're able to come out of your body in that amount of time. And it might only be 2 or 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds to us, but that timeline is a whole lot different on a different plane. And when they get pulled out of that body, they watch everything that happens. And you know, that kind of reminds me of something else. You know, I talked earlier about, you know, a couple of the stories that really convinced me, but my grandma, you know, love her to death. She's still alive. Named my daughter after her. I love her. Marie, she, at some point in time in her life, flatlined, and she still tell the story to this day. You know, she said she died, and she remembers being wherever she was at, and she said, God, she said, I, you know, can't do this right now. She said, I've got 4 kids at home, and they need me. Like, my husband, he can't do it. You know what I mean? They need me right now. And they brought her back to life. And she remembers that happening, you know.
That sounds like your grandma.
It is. She'll tell you that story to this day. She did. She flatlined, essentially, and they brought her back. Somehow, I can't remember what the circumstances were. For the love of God, you know, I should, because she's told it to me 100 times. It just escapes me right now. But for whatever it was, whatever surgery she was doing right there on a, you know, dead. And she had that moment with God, and she talked to him, and she said,
that shows you what faith does.
Yes.
That's that strong faith.
And she's got strong faith.
Oh, my grandma, she is. She's everything.
Like I'm, you know, I can kind of relate to you. I might cuss, I might drink a beer, I might drink a liquor, smoke a cigar, might have road rage, whatever the case may be. But when any time before we walk into any location, you got to get grounded and get your faith right. You got to surround yourself with the white light of God, and before you go into this place, I mean, it don't matter if it's demonic or it's just somebody. You just don't know what you're going to walk into every time you walk into a house. And there's been times I feel like us being that way has kind of saved our ass.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like if we'd have just went in there nonchalant, I feel like we would have probably come out worse than we did.
And I think when you say it saved my life, it's not like that if you went in there, then you'd have been killed if you weren't. No, what it is if you didn't go in there with the faith of the good Lord, and you didn't know that he was on your side, and whatever you're doing was for the righteousness, that whatever negative energy or negative field in there would have brought you down, and it would continue to brought you down. And who knows, it's going to kill you right away, but it's going to kill everything you love and everything you believe in and everything that you stand for. And that's worse than death. You know what I mean? Like losing what you love and what you care about. I can't imagine anything else. Like, I would go outside and like I said, start a shotgun if it meant that my family, my wife, son, and daughter didn't have to feel an ounce of pain. Yeah. You know, I'm prepared for that. So, you know, when it comes down to something like that, yeah, absolutely.
It's true. You know, I've told him more times than not, you know, we go in somewhere and you worry about, you know, what could attach depending on the situation. And, you know, that's why people this is another, you know, kind of stigma that comes with it. People that are naturally that have depression and, you know, issues like that probably should either ground themselves a little more than others if they're going to be in those kinds of areas.
Because it can feed off that.
It can, and it can just make that person, it can literally just wipe them out, you know, over time. Or they really just need to stay away from stuff like that. We have 2 other members in our group, and one of them suffers clinical depression. And for that reason, I have to gauge where we're going. And if we're going somewhere that I think, you know, there potentially could be something harmful there, they won't go with us. He and I will go. So that's...
there's times we could just ride by places and she would get an eerie feeling. You know, we rode around the Central Virginia Training Center in Madison Heights.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean that place right there, we cannot get in there. We've even, you know, with our friends that had when they had the show on TV, we give them the hints that they couldn't get in there. No groups ever got in there. You cannot get an interview with anybody that worked there. If you do, it's deny. Nothing happened. But we were riding around, and I mean, she even just had me shut the sunroof on the Yukon because she just didn't. She said it's just creepy. She said I just don't feel good. This is a nasty place.
I've been there before, like for work. I delivered there right before, I guess 5 or 6 months before they closed it down, and I had no earthly idea of the history of the place. I was just like, you know, they got the receiving docks. I was like, why are they closing this place down? I mean, there's a lot of buildings here. There's a lot of infrastructure. There's a lot of things that could be done with this place, you know, and I didn't get much, you know, didn't really know what the whole deal was. He just said it was closing down, and I guess it's abandoned now. Are they doing anything with it, or?
I think now they're fixing to do the whole, you know, upscale apartments and stuff like that, and you know, that's fine. Let's drop our name on there because I got a feeling we'll be down there a lot.
What did that place used to be?
It was, in my own opinion, and if I come up missing, y'all know why. To me, it was a torture chamber.
Wow.
It was started off as a tuberculosis clinic, but back in 1912 or something, 1910. And then it became a center for the insane and feeble-minded. And you start reading back some of there's a lot of information out there, so I mean, you can look it up for yourself. But there was a lot of sterilizations done down there, you know, sterilizations done down there, to the point to where even in the 40s, the book that was written on sterilization, Hitler modeled that off of what was done here in Virginia.
Yeah.
Now it's out there. You can find it and read it for yourself. Now, whether that's the truth or not, I don't know. It's kind of a coincidence. About the same time this was happening, Hitler was sterilizing the Jews. So I don't know. I can't
But
pinpoint.
you know, we read an account of someone that had been put there as a younger person and was sterilized, and you can hear, I mean, your heart just breaks for her because, you know, she was never able to have any children, of course, and that's the one thing that she wanted. That right was taken away from her because of their beliefs back at that time. And that place is a lot like St. Albans. It's, you know, we talked earlier about how people, if they're bad in life, they're going to be bad in death. If they're good in life, they're going to be good in death. Well, the people that were tortured, that were put into those places, are still tortured. And so the energies that people feel in those areas are all coming from that kind of thing.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, and you say it was the virtues and the values of people back then, but I think today we still have a natural innate ability, especially for women, to want to nurture and want to give birth and be mothers. And I think it's one of the biggest problems in the world right now is, and this is not a knock on women leaders, women leaders are very possible, but the ones in this world, like Angela Merkel, for example, in Germany, no kids. She has never had a kid. She's never had that nurturing ability. So what does she want to do? She wants to baby the entire freaking country and run it into the ground and helicopter parent the country. There's a lot of parallels to this. Like, you know, if you want somebody in charge of a country, you want somebody in charge of something, find you a mother. Because a mother knows what's best, you know, and you get these women out here that have put career first and they don't have any children, and they get to the point to where there's that natural instinct and that natural desire to be a mother, but they have fought it and suppressed it for so long that now they've reached a point to where their career is number one and they can't have kids now. And I think they set out on a personal vendetta to want to mother and nurture as many people that are around them as they can, and that's just not healthy or natural. Those people already we don't need that nurturing, you know what I mean? We're grown adults, we're grown people, but you know, and it's a huge problem in the world right now, and it's wild that stuff allegedly happened down there, right there in Madison Heights, right across the river from downtown Lynchburg. There's other big buildings in Madison Heights there. There's the place where they have the Job Corps. Is there anything crazy about that place? Because it's kind of old, and I know people have been housed there for a long. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's in Monroe, essentially.
Never been down there and done anything around that area. There was one other school, the Bocock Elementary School. We want to try to reach out and get in touch with them people and get in that building and see. That building was actually featured on Ghost Nation with Jason Hawes. What we kind of consider the
Jason Hall, is that Alvin's boy?
No,
Yeah.
that's the right hall.
Don't you mean not Road Dog?
But yeah, we kind of look at them as they're the ones who brought all of this to the forefront. They're the ones that first started. My God, back in the mid-90s.
Oh yeah, we started watching them me and Heather, when they first came on the air.
So,
Yeah.
Jason and Grant and those guys, I mean, they're like the original OGs of this, and the ones that, got into homes doing service work, and people started talking about it, and that's how they got interested in, okay, well, why would that happen? So, they did the Bocock Elementary School, and like I said, it's kind of a cool place. Like, you can check it out. But,
Where's this at?
down in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay. Bocock Elementary. What part of Lynchburg?
It's on the 501 side. I'm not too sure. We haven't been down there yet.
I don't think it's towards the downtown. It's probably up closer to the Wards Road side if I would know what I'm talking about, which I should. I've worked that area for quite a while now, but never been to that elementary school of all places. Because there's a lot, I mean, even towards the Boonesboro area, I don't, you've got some pretty rich history over there too. I'm not sure. There's, and even going down, Boonesboro Road all the way when it turns into Rivermont, a lot of old houses, a lot of old probably history there.
We're just looking at houses going,
I used to live on Rivermont.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
There were so many houses over in that area I would love to go in. If nothing more, just to look at the architecture that's inside, because like I said, I love old houses. I love the...
Yeah, they tell a story. Why did they decide to build it like this? What was it about that time period? What was it about their frame of mind that they decided to do this? Like this house that we're sitting in right now, I think it was built in 1913 or 1923 or whatever, maybe 23. I think it's about to turn 100, but it has traditionally always been for doctors and medical people. I think when they originally built it, because our house is identical to the one next door, essentially it was two doctors that wanted to build next door, and I think eventually they split this house into two, so had a downstairs and an upstairs. That's why we've got a lot of the hookups and stuff up here if you wanted to turn it into an apartment. But yeah, we've got two electric bills essentially. We've got one for this top part of the house, and we get a separate one for the bottom part of the house. Yeah, we do. We do. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, this house has got a lot of history, a lot of medical professionals, and I think the people we bought this house from, one was a doctor, and my wife, of course, she's in the medical field, and she's going to be. It's just weird how that. Now, granted, at the same time, you're 3 blocks away from the hospital, so that kinda, but no less, it still followed that path for years and years and years. Regardless, I mean, what are the odds? I mean, still, you think at some point in time, and I think there was maybe one family maybe before. I don't know if I still think they were medical too.
So it's kind of that whole 7 degrees we was talking about earlier,
Yeah, it's just, it's wild how, the gravitation.
It is, and talking about the way houses are built, and we were talking about Avenel earlier, people that have been inside Avenel, and if you've never been in, you definitely should go down and check it out. It's an awesome house to go in. But there is, when you go upstairs, there's actually a window that is right in between the staircase. It's just a window that just sits there, and people have said so many times, why in the world is there a window right here of all places? And our belief is because if you look across from that window, there's also a door that would lead out to a porch. So probably back in the day, you could open that door and get a nice breeze coming through. So there was always a...
Yeah, when you didn't have air conditioning,
Exactly.
You don't have things like
That's
that.
right.
Like, that's a lot of things people don't put into perspective either.
That draft is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, especially this time of the year, that nice little breeze that comes through on a hot day or whatever. Yeah, I love it. That's what I love about Appalachia.
Not to mention, you get some of these old houses, 1830s to 1840s. Some of the walls in these places, we've been in some of these houses, the walls are 12 inches thick, solid brick. So they're, it's insulated. You can walk and touch a wall, and the wall's just cold. So any air that circulates through these houses would be be chilled as it went through the house. It would keep the house cool. So just to think about the architecture, like she was saying, you know, we walked in places before, and I'm just like, you know, why are we here again? Because I'm too busy looking at the house itself, how it was designed. The one house we was talking about that we got dropped in our lap in Bedford, it was a Federal Greek Revival style home, but it had windows all the way around the top.
It did. Little small windows.
Square windows. And every one of them was functional. They would open. And it's just, I guess that's how they channeled air through the house back then.
Yeah, they found ways to do it.
Yeah,
They did.
Plus the aesthetics. It's just gorgeous.
I was
Yes.
going to say, plus we found that article too about, was it the Hunter's Raid that came through there? And the folks that lived in that house, she was actually able to go upstairs in that room and watch it out those smaller windows from
Wow.
all the way up there and have a really great view of it. So I mean, it's
Well, it's funny you say that too, yeah, because this house right here, I mean, if we lived in a house that was, where's that at?
That's better.
I mean, what street is it on, do you know?
That is out on 43, like going towards Peaks.
Really? Okay. I know exactly where that's at then. I'll probably pass it 100 times. But, you know, for this house, you know, you say about the insulation and stuff, like if we had a house that was built within the last 10, 15 years, our electric bill would probably double what it is right now. This house, for whatever reason, I mean, it's super insulated. Like, we don't have to turn it up really high in the wintertime. We save a lot there. We don't have to turn it way down in the summertime. We save a lot there. You can open up a couple windows. I mean, it's you know, a lot of it's craftsmanship, you know, people and then putting in time and effort, you know, and materials start getting cheaper and cheaper and people start producing it cheaper and cheaper and making it. But there's something about these old houses. There's so much history and so much lore and wonder
there is.
that goes with it. All right. We have went on for so freaking long, and we have went on for almost as long talking ahead of time and in between cuts and stuff like this, because I feel like we could go on forever and ever and ever. So we're going to stop right here because I want to get y'all back on again, because I've had an absolute blast, and who knows, the next time we don't even have to talk about this kind of stuff, because I think there's tons of things we could talk about. Racing, we could talk about, you know, firefighting things. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and I love y'all to death. I've just met y'all here tonight. I know we've talked a few times here and there before, but I love y'all. Y'all are friends of mine now. Y'all need anything, y'all come over here. I've had a blast here tonight speaking with y'all, and I think we have a lot of fun stuff coming in the future. And like I said, my hope is that, you know, enough people will hit y'all up after this episode to say, hey, put me to the front of the list. Here's, you know, a few $100s here and there. Just what can I do? You know, because we all deserve to flourish, you know, not only in our passions, but our work. And you can have a passion and work at the same time. That's what this show is for me. I don't care if I ever make $1, but it would be nice. You know what I mean? It would be nice. It would be nice. I could definitely use that to provide for my family. So, yeah, I mean, this has been probably one of the funnest shows I've had. I'm super proud of Scoot over here because he has jumped in. He has asked phenomenal questions. It's like he was born to do this. You just had to drag it out of him. And who knew the one show, the show that he was super like, man, I'm about to walk out of this room if some crazy stuff goes down, that he ended up, you know, contributing the most.
No, I had a blast.
Same here. Thank you for having us. I mean,
Yes,
this
we
is
appreciate
an absolute blast.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. And you know, like I said, catch these guys on, you know, Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Dark Paranormal. They got a lot of fun stuff to look at and discuss. And now that you know a little bit about them, you know, if you got something more personal and you want to reach out to them, do it. You know, reach out to them and see, you know, they're not charging any money for it. They're doing it out of their passion, which to me, you know, gives so much legitimacy. But that doesn't mean, you know, they shouldn't go without. So, you know, hook them up, you know, give them, if for nothing else, follows online and likes and shares and things like that. Things that we need, you know, things that we need, you know, it's Beyond the Dark Paranormal, right?
Beyond the Dark Paranormal.
Yeah, Beyond the Dark Paranormal. Facebook,
Very
Instagram,
simple.
And like I said, we have the website. Don't do much with it, but like I said, you need us, reach out to us. You can send us a message. We have numbers on there where you can contact us by phone. We'll be glad to come out and do whatever.
And here's what I want to happen next as well. I want you all to, you know, get to a point to where I want y'all to find something that you have a lot of faith and energy. That's going to be something that's going to give a lot of activity. A play, and you know what? It could be something as crazy as St. Albans. I'm willing to do that, but I think you need to drag me and Scoot out there one time and let us kind of feel that energy.
Yes.
Scoot, you see,
To have y'all.
I want to. You know what? I mean, just to be able to go and talk about my experiences and talk about how it is. So when y'all find that time, you know, I know we're booked up here for my wife was telling me today, she's like, God, we are so booked. He signed up for it when he sat down in front of that mic. He knew what he was getting into. He knows how I am.
I don't have any problems.
But I'll be there with you. I will hold your hand and whisper sweet somethings in your ear if that's what you need.
Negative energy.
I don't think you need that. I think I just, whether it's good or bad, even if it's a place that you perceive as bad and you decide to go in there, I got enough faith in myself and my abilities to be able to go in there and fight off whatever negative it is. And, who knows? I can, maybe I'll tell him to piss off or something. He'll listen. Who knows?
Oh, if it comes on me, I'm going to fight.
Exactly. Exactly. So I would love, so y'all got to let me know, when you got something like that going on, because we want to go there and document a little bit, and just be able to talk about it, and then we can come back on here again and have a show about.
We've inquired some places here in Rocky Mount. We've actually done a place here in Rocky Mount. I'm not going to say the name.
Well, I can guarantee you I know where it is, and I'm going to say it, and it might be wrong, and you don't have to nod to me or not, but it's probably the Early Inn over there, because that's where me and my wife got married.
That's one of the places we're checking into.
That's not the one you're talking about, though.
We've talked to Brian before. Great guy.
He took us on a tour.
Took us on the tour of the place.
Yeah, love it there. We go there and take pictures with Claire for. And now Benjamin for Christmas every year, take Santa Claus pictures, and we got married down there. So, it's just me, when we bring this all together and stuff, how y'all do and what y'all do and how you do it. I do it for the same way. Look, I was born here in Rocky Mount, one of the last kids before they started forcing everybody to go to Roanoke. I was born right up there. I deployed from the unit right down here, about 5 blocks away. 2 blocks from that, I graduated high school. Got married 2 blocks this way. My son was born a block over that way, and now I live here. Like, I'm the most Rocky Mount. Love this place, Appalachian son of a gun you will ever come across. I love all of our possibilities. I love what we got here. I love our community. I just want people to be able to come together and have fun and enjoy and share your ideas and do things like this here tonight and meet people that you never would have expected you'd meet until you put your neck out there and did something. And now, God Almighty, I feel like we've got some friends right here for life. And I feel like that, this is going to be one of the best shows we've ever put out. I really do. This is going to be up there.
Can we just say one thing? We love. We're from Bedford. We love Bedford, but we love Rocky Mount.
You got to.
Little town,
It is a cool
from the
little town.
cruise-ins and the attractions and stuff like that.
And Buddy's Barbecue there, buddy. I'm gonna throw that plug in there for you because he's done a lot for us too. So throw that plug in there. And all the other restaurants are great. Like El Rio's a phenomenal restaurant. Ippy's is a good restaurant. Ruth's Place. The truck stop. How many memories do we have of the truck stop?
Oh, wow.
Middle of the night, drunk as hell. Let's go on up there and get. That's our Waffle House.
24 hours.
Yep. Other than Saturday night, so we always had to hit it Friday night. But I do.
Always a Burger Company person. Seems like we'll always go over to see our friends at the Twin Creeks, and then we'll come over to the Burger Company and grub down there. And then
Yeah, that's another good one though. I like going down there. We haven't.
Back north on 122 to Bedford. So
Now we got the brewery up here in town. I haven't actually made my way to yet, but I haven't either. But I'm excited about going up there, and I reached out to them and said, "Hey, come on a show at some point in time," and they said like to do it after they get the opening, which was a month or 2 ago. But I still want to go up there and experience before I bring them on here and talk about it because hey, look, anybody that's coming to our community to make it better, I'm all about it. So yeah, I have had an absolute blast here tonight. I think God Almighty, we've been going hours now, on air and off, and we could probably keep going, but I like my marriage.
I'm just glad the equipment on the tables went off. So
Well, okay, real quick before we get out of here,
that means we can come back as friends and not as
I want to talk about a couple more pieces just real quick. You got one right here. that looks like the thing from Masters of the Universe that they use to open up the portals. What is this right here? It looks like a fan sitting on a block. What does that do?
That is our Periscope 360. The Periscope 360 uses lights, so all of those little sticks that are sticking out of it have different colored lights, and it shows us where the energy is because it will light up wherever the energy is around it.
So, all right, and the one to my left and to your right here, it looks like a remote control from the movie Click.
Right, that's one of our EMF detectors, so just another electromagnetic frequency detector.
That's one of the OG pieces of equipment that's been around for years. It's an EMF meter.
Yes.
All righty, and then the one that looks like the mini skee ball machine.
That is the newest piece of equipment. That is the GS2 laser grid, and what it does, it will project a gridded laser down a hallway, against a wall, in a doorway, or anywhere you want to take a chance of seeing something move across. Anything that breaks those beams will show up on that screen. So it's a very useful piece of equipment. Some of these things we have to save up to buy, but it's if you know it's something that's going to be beneficial, we spare no expense to go ahead and get it.
Yeah, so when you're looking at these pictures, I'm going to post them to Facebook. I'm going to have to just get y'all to text me to tell me what they all are again. But, when you see these things, you're going to see Budweiser cans in the background. Please just know that this is still serious stuff. This is still very, very serious stuff and very serious equipment.
That's the equipment we have to use after some of our investigations. So, yeah, that's...
And
thank you, by the way. It's very refreshing. Thank you.
Yeah, and this other little device right here that it's round and blue. What is that?
That would be our mag light.
Okay, well, I was doing that for the liberals out there who can't figure out which bathroom to use. Now they know what a flashlight is. So I'm just kidding. I just like cracking a joke every now and then. We use whatever bathroom you want to. I use the women's room.
With MAGA, it's just
Mag light. Yes. But hey, you might have just stumbled onto something. Let's make some MAGA lights. MAGA lights. We just rebranded flashlights and made $1 million. Copyrighted and what's the other one you need? Not copyright, but trademark. Yes, copyrighted and trademarked by the Appalachian Media LLC. MAGA lights. And unless it's already been used, we got to look on there and find that out. Because if it hasn't, I think we just come up with a genius.
I was going to say, Trumptown probably hasn't.
God bless it. The only person on the planet that would have thought of that before me was Whitey frickin' Taylor.
He's already on the phone with an attorney.
So yeah, all right. So Don, Kelly, thank y'all so much for coming. Can't wait to get y'all back for the next time. I sincerely apologize. I don't think you're going to make Twins Creek tonight because it's midnight. So apologies to Robin James, one of our former guests, and happy birthday to you, Robin James.
Yes.
And until the next time, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
And my co-host for the night, who
And bartender.
substituted spectacularly. Good job, Scoot Dog.
I appreciate it.
I'm not going to put his name in the marquee this time because he actually talked. I only put his name in the marquee if he says nothing at all, because people wonder, why did you put his name in the marquee? I like having him here. Even if he doesn't talk, it's nice to have that person that you still have the body language, right. the ESP communication.
The last podcast I was on, I said literally 10 words.
No, not even that much.
No, it was. I just counted.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Was that the Hermie one or the?
Yeah.
Well, you were actually on the one with my wife and the midwife for a couple of seconds. You did say hi. You said hi, and on the Hermie one, that's when I passed out. I forgot about that. I laughed so hard that I think all the oxygen went away from my brain. Yeah, it was a man's. Like they asked me about, because I guess Manscaped is one of their sponsors, and apparently it's escaping your man parts or whatever, landscaping it. And I laughed so hard that the oxygen to my brain just stopped, and I woke back up like 3 seconds later, and I was like, hold on, we're laughing about something. What the hell's going on here? I haven't listened to their show, their version of it, because it was a swap cast. I don't know if they cut that out or not. I cut it out of our show. So if you're listening to that show, you don't even know that happened. You don't know it happened, but I need to go back and actually listen to their version of it to see if they cut it out or not, because their show actually
they just released it.
They did. They released it this week, and so if you listened to our show with Hermie Sadler and Bill Stanley, look, go back and still listen to their version of it, because they actually add on another 30 or 45 minutes of other discussions and stuff like that we weren't a part of and everything. And it gives you a lot of good insight and stuff. So they kind of talk for a while and then they go into our interview or whatever. So there's probably 30 minutes or so there that we weren't a part of. So go back and listen to it. It's a different show, and go give them a follow and a like. You know, they're doing good stuff. I like a lot of the guests they have, and they're super good to us. And I can't wait to see them here in a couple weeks at Motor Mile, where I hope to see y'all again. And I hope to see a lot of people that are listening to this show, because the Smart Mods are coming back, and it's going to be one hell of a time. So for everybody here and Scoot Dog, we appreciate you.